But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody's checking it out.
I don't know if it was a rocket or whatever, but it could be fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Yo ho, yo ho. Welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and this is the show where we talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what those things are? Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. This show is live. We are broadcasting on the Fringe FM. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and DLive. We are taking your phone calls tonight. If you want to be part of the show at any point, give us a call at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can find the phone number and the Discord link at troubledminds.org. That's the official website. And everything that needs to be working on the website is working right there on top. You can get the phone number and the Discord right on top. You can't miss it. And we're also embedded in streaming right on the website as well. So if you want to listen there, there's another option for you. Just go straight to the website, and we should be live there also. So, as you know, we've been paying quite close attention to the news cycles. It's really what we do on this show, and you know, in the true spirit of having a troubled mind, it's you know, I know we have a lot of new people finding us and joining us and enjoying the shows, and I appreciate that a lot. Hello to all the new folks out there, and hello to all the folks that are not new. It's like I said, this is one of those things that makes it go around with everybody. The more people, the merrier. And so with the Troubled Minds spirit, we like to look at the news cycle, meaning that this is not, like I say, I'm not a doom preacher. This is not a situation where we get together and commiserate about the end of the world, right? It has nothing to do with that. Having a troubled mind is basically just being a concerned citizen. It's as simple as that. Paying attention to the news, trying to untangle propaganda from the BS they try and feed us in the news cycles, and just trying to figure out what's really going on in the world. Because as many of you know, and many of you have been listening to the show, you understand that there is a force out there. And whatever you want to call them, some people call them, Satanists, or, they call them the deep state or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I say these things kind of tongue in cheek because, they call them the Illuminati, things like this, right? Which is all fine and well. It's kind of based on, in my opinion, a, personal bias for some reason. But we try and avoid all that stuff with labels, with politics, with any of these things. But you can avoid politics for the most part and still watch the news cycles and call out the BS when you see it. And part of that is what this show is all about. And that's why we get together and talk about these things. That's why we've always done it live. It's going on just past 3 years now for Troubled Minds. And so even way back in the day when we never got anybody calling or anybody listening, we always had an open phone line. And so as part of that and the whole propaganda aspect, like I always say, try and give Don Lemon a call in the middle of his show. You can't, because you won't get through, because they don't have time, because they have hour to hour, wall to wall packed with propaganda, right? So transparency is one of those important things to me. If you want to be part of the show again, phone number's up, go to troubledminds.org, and that's why we've always done it this way. Again, to include you, I've learned so many things from people calling in and teaching me things, educating each other back and forth, pointing out maybe inconsistencies in an argument I might make. All that stuff is good. It's fine and well. It's what we do, and it's all part of the show here. So, again, like I said, it's not my show. This is our show, and I appreciate your input tonight. All right, so as I was watching the news cycles, of course, right, some things always catch my attention. And as many of you know, we do a news show on Monday and Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific on Twitch, and then this show, Troubled Minds, goes 7 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So 5 days a week we have shows, and Monday and Friday we do the news. Well, yesterday, we were doing the news show, and a particular article popped up and caught my attention. And it is this in particular. This is from New Scientist, newscientist.com. And as always, I will share my links with you so you can see where I got this information from. Because, of course, it's important to me that you guys know where this information comes from, so you see that I'm not making it up. If I'm fooled by propaganda, fine, so be it. But at least you saw where the source came from, right? It's part of being human in this postmodern world, I guess you could call it. Post-truth world, I guess is probably the better way to say that. But okay, so this is from newscientist.com, and the headline is this. And we've kind of kicked this idea around a little bit before, but really never kind of in depth. But this keeps happening. This particular thing keeps happening. Check this out. Headline is this from newscientist.com, and this was just yesterday. Tiny animal revived after 24,000 years entombed in Siberian permafrost. Yep, that's right. That's right. And this continues to happen, right? We're talking about as the world warms, right? And I'm not going to ascribe that to climate change or any of these other things, right? The political terms they use. I'm going to say that we're coming out of an ice age. How about that? I think that's probably an apt way to put this. But as the permafrost tends to melt in particular areas, in this case Siberia, we have these, I don't know, critters, these tiny little things, these animals, right, for lack of a better term, that are reviving. This one, okay, let's read some of this article so you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. A tiny animal called a rotifer, R-O-T-I-F-E-R, rotifer, let's see, spelling bee right there, has been revived after spending 24,000 years frozen in permafrost. It is the longest a rotifer has been observed to survive in such extreme cold. While simple organisms like bacteria can often survive millennia in permafrost, this is an animal with a nervous system and a brain and everything, says Stas Malovin at the Pushino Scientific Center. I don't think that's how you say that, but we're going to go with it. For Biological Research, RAS, in Russia. It isn't quite a record. Nematode worms have purportedly been revived from permafrost after 30,000 years. All right? But no rotifer has been known to endure for so long. So Malovin and his team drilled into permafrost near the Alizaya River in northeastern Siberia, Russia, in 2015. They found a single rotifer, a worm-like creature less than a quarter of a millimeter long. when the researchers warmed it up and gave it food, it became active. It also reproduced because it is a Deloid, Bdelloid, I think you just say it, Deloid rotifer that can clone itself without the need for a sexual partner. So not only do we have this thing reviving after 24,000 years frozen in the permafrost, once they warmed it up and it started to eat and become active, it then immediately began reproducing asexually, right? And so, of course, this thing in particular, it kind of gives the nod back to. I like to make the connection with Jurassic Park. Remember the chaos theory guy? What was his name? Jeff Goldblum, and he said, "Life finds a way." And this is a perfect example of that. 24,000 years frozen in the permafrost, and scientists are able to revive this thing, and then it immediately begins reproducing asexually. Can you believe this? This is pretty nuts. And so, as again, right, we're coming out of the ice age, and some other people want to say all these other things politically about climate change and global warming and the whole deal, right? I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do is talk about if this continues to happen, and we have these things coming up out of the ice, and they are still alive, right? They're these things are living. Right, 24,000 years frozen, like very much like you would expect. Put somebody in a rocket ship or whatever and send them to another galaxy in some sort of stasis, and then wake them up when they get there. Like, this is something very similar, right? This is crazy. And so as a result, I don't know. So this is an animal, right? Again, it's got a brain, it's got a nervous system. This is not just some tiny microscopic bacteria. This is actually an animal by definition. And so you see what's happening here. If these animals, whatever these things are called, again, what is it? A rotifer, rotifer, rotifer. You like that spelling bee style? These things, if they can come back after 24,000 years frozen, it begs a couple of questions. Number one, if they can do it, all kinds of other bacteria can probably do this as well. Am I right? And if that's the case, how many possibly dangerous pathogens lurk beneath the permafrost as it continues to melt, and continues to melt? And this is the crazy stuff, right? Because, to kind of take it out to just a step further is, we have that same sort of storyline, like a plot line for the X-Files, right? With the aliens are actually frozen in the permafrost up there in the actually down there in the Antarctic. And, if you guys have seen the movie Fight the Future, I'm sure Fox Mulder is out there in the permafrost, actually Antarctica, where it's just frozen. And he's looking for a particular base, right? What are they doing? Well, they're harboring these alien life forms that have been buried in the Antarctic for forever, for who knows. And so that's really what the topic is tonight. And X-Files aside, this is really the way any bad, horror movie begins, with some sort of actual permafrost discovery of an organism that was alive 24,000 years ago. And so as this stuff starts to happen, right, the question tonight is, should we be concerned about this? And not only that, what can we do about this? I think maybe if you look out there in the cosmos and say, okay, well, some people say that the reason there's no aliens, right? I'm going to just go with that theory for a minute here, so forgive my take on this, my angle. But some people say that the Fermi paradox, right, is that, well, how come we don't see UFOs and aliens zipping all over the place, right? How come they haven't landed on the White House lawn? How come they're not in my backyard right now, right? Well, the Fermi paradox says that space is so huge, and we have this bizarre tendency as advanced civilizations to do ourselves in, right? With, for instance, with us, with like nuclear weapons, right? So if we're there on the brink of maybe something amazing for humanity, somehow, some way, we're going to derail it, right? And, you know, there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways we've talked about in the past, and very specifically, kind of in the vein of this right here, is that I was talking about in one of the shows several weeks back about bringing soil back from Mars to Earth, right? And so we talked about, you know, these level 4 labs, these containment centers where they're supposed to be able to keep, you know, like as such an alien pathogen, like a hypothetical alien pathogen from Mars. They're actually able to keep it safe. So if there's something in that could turn deadly and seriously like have a high rate of exposure, right? They should be able to contain these things. Except, well, we have very close in the last instance, right? The last year and a half or whatever this has been now, a perfect example of humans making mistakes in a level 4 lab, right? Whether this thing escaped the Wuhan lab at this point, whether it was engineered there, there's still some questions being asked about that. But you see what I'm saying here. If we continue flirting with things like, oh, I don't know, bringing soil from other planets to Earth, or sometimes if you look at something like this, what can you do about it? It's almost like there's nothing you can do, because as the weather changes, as the climate actually changes, these are the types of things that become resurrected and back in the world. And so who knows, right? Like, clearly this is a terrestrial organism. However, if we're talking about 24,000 years ago, a lot has changed since then, okay? And so if you're saying, well, this thing, you know, may be completely harmless or whatever else, what is next? What's just below the permafrost, below this guy that they found? So that's kind of the point here. Really what we're talking about, is it not an alien thing, right? Because it hasn't existed in the modern world. And so I think very much we're dealing with what you might consider, even though it's terrestrial in origin, I think you might be able to consider that this, because it's so far removed in time from where we are now, that it may as well be an alien pathogen. You see what I'm saying? So anyway, that's the story tonight. That's the question. Again, this animal revived after 24,000 years, entombed in Siberian permafrost, and of course, this is the interesting part. They found a single rotifer, a worm-like creature less than 1/4 of a millimeter long. When the researchers warmed it up and gave it food, it became active. All right, and then it also reproduced, because it is a deloid rotifer that can clone itself without the need for a sexual partner. Now, think about that. Think about that. We're talking about basically alien creatures here. They're saying that this particular rotifer is probably brand new to science. Again, because we're traveling back in time here, 24,000 years ago, and this thing just wakes up. And so, like I said, yeah. Yeah. If you guys have comments on this, as always, we're doing this live to include you if you want to be part of the show. Phone number tonight is 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And so those are some of the questions, right? Do you have any ideas if we can do anything about this, period? Literally be able to do anything about this at all. I think that's probably the one thing that kind of sticks in my craw a little bit about this whole thing, is that we may not be able to do a damn thing about this. But I'm not, again, I'm probably wrong most of the time. So I'm putting the question to you. Do you think there's any way, let's say that there's dangerous pathogens frozen in the permafrost from, I don't know, let's say 1 million years ago. Let's say 10 million years ago. And what happens when the melt becomes so much that these things start reviving and entering a modern world from basically back in time? And like I said, I think the only way to equate this would be to an alien pathogen of sorts, because it hasn't existed in the modern world. And that just means that, well, It may as well be from Mars, right? It may as well be from Mars. So that's what we're talking about tonight. And do you really think there's anything we can do about this? And I think that's probably why as being part of the Troubled Minds community here, and the way this goes is, I think, remember, I'm not a doom preacher. I'm not saying the end is nigh. There's nothing we can do. I'm saying, does anybody have any ideas out there about how we could possibly contain something like this? As the permafrost melts and we end up doing whatever it is we're doing here, talking about dangerous things that maybe people aren't giving enough attention to. So that's what's on deck tonight. That's the question, and several questions, and we're taking your phone calls. 702-957-1037 if you want to be part of the show. Join the Discord at troubledminds.org, and we'll put you on, and we've got a phone call now. So let's go to Daryl in New York. Daryl, you are on Troubled Minds with Mike. How are you, my friend?
How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the call tonight. What is on your mind?
Well, it's funny. This reminds me of a show that I saw about raining blood in Sri Lanka. Do you remember this?
I do,
One
actually.
of those unsolved mystery shows.
I do.
Yeah, this almost sounds identical because it was they found this organism in a meteorite that hit the area, and a few days after the meteorite hit, it started to rain red, like red blood. And it turned out it was whatever was in this meteor got caught up in the atmosphere, and that's what caused the rain to turn red. So when they looked at what was involved in this, it was a one-cell organism that self-replicated, and it had no known DNA. Like, it didn't have DNA like human or Earth-type DNA as we know it. It was its own life form that has nothing to do with whatever we had on our planet. And in to err on the side of caution, they called up like the CDC, in the United States to say, look, what if this thing is contagious, or what if we don't have any kind of protection against something like this, like an alien virus? Would you like to help us investigate this? And give us some money to research it. They're like, oh, no, we don't have money for that. We're too busy with gain of function, No, I'm just kidding. I didn't say that. But,
right. Well, that's what they were doing, probably. I mean, if we're being real. But, yeah.
They might as well and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so they weren't interested because it didn't land on our side of the globe. They didn't have any interest at all, and pretty much blew them off, But
yeah.
I think they sound almost similar, that this is something that, God forbid, self-replicates. It doesn't even need a mate, so you can't cut off its its mating format to stop it from rebreeding. And what if it gets out of hand and, creates like a famine or a locust or a plague, a biblical type of plague? We'd have no protection over this.
Exactly. Interesting you put it in those terms to bring it back to like resurrecting a biblical plague of sorts, because I think that could be what we're looking at, like specifically because, like I said, like we've said on this show, like you just said, our bodies change, our immune systems are always adapting and developing. And if you get something that the human body hasn't seen in thousands of years, it may as well be brand new again. And so we may have serious problems here, right? Serious problems.
Exactly. So it's food for thought. But, if they get their hands on this, they're going to find a way to weaponize it and turn it into something like we have today.
I love your enthusiasm. It's before we even know what it is, we're going to make it a weapon. That sounds very America. That sounds very America.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To the powers that be.
Exactly. So,
all right, well, anyway, that's my thought for the night.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. That's Daryl from New York. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the phone call. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night. Great thought there. So the question is this tonight then. So if these actual critters, these bacteria, these small, tiny, microscopic animals are basically resurrecting from the permafrost, is there anything we could actually do about this? I think that's the question here. Is there literally anything we can do to handle this? Or is this a situation where maybe our hands are tied and maybe that Fermi paradox exists for a reason because technological civilizations actually end up snuffing themselves out even by accident in a case like this. Anyway, more talk about this weird permafrost business and pathogens and aliens and everything else. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Don't go anymore. Don't go anywhere, I mean. More after the break. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We are streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and DLive. We are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we are talking about this bizarre thing that just went down. Tiny animal revived after 24,000 years entombed in Siberian permafrost. Can we stop this from happening? Do you think there's any chance? Or is this possibly why there's no aliens out there in the universe? So they tell us. We're taking your phone calls tonight. If you want to be part of the show, we had Daryl call in and kick us off. Fantastic call, Daryl. You're next. If you're out there listening, you can hear me right now. I'm talking to you. Give us a call at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And so there's some interesting angles here. Just regarding these whatever these things are, right? This in particular is a rotifer that they dug out of the Siberian permafrost as it was 24,000 years old, as they've discovered, and did some radiocarbon testing on this thing, and it was, as far as they considered it was dead, but they tried to heat it up, to warm it up, to give it some food, and the thing became active. It woke up. So we talk about the water bears, like I talked about on our news show on Monday, is that the water bears get the tardigrades get the very like they're basically known as one of the most robust life forms out there. Okay, they say they can survive the vacuum of space, extreme heat, extreme cold, radiation, things like this, right? And so they're even on the moon, right? Remember that Bereshit lander from Israel that actually crashed on the moon? It had some water bears, or the tardigrades, actually on this thing because they wanted to test and see if they could survive on the moon. Well, one way to test is to just crash land into the moon and let them live up there, let them thrive, or whatever's going on up there. But so the tardigrades, the water bears, they get a ton of press for being so robust. Okay, we've talked about these things in that they can live for a very, very long time, and even without water, in some situations, they just kind of shrivel up and become in a dormant state, okay? And they just kind of wait until something happens. They get reintroduced to a water source, or conditions for life become hospitable to them again, and they just basically come back to life. And so that's the type of thing that if we see it in nature, and it already exists in something like the water bears or the tardigrades, now we have this example, and this isn't the only one. There's actually other examples recently in the last several years here where this keeps happening. And that's what kind of piqued my interest here, is because this isn't the first time we've talked about this. This isn't the first time this has happened. This article is today. And so, or yesterday, actually, June 7th. And so as a result, if this continues to happen, and we go, as the permafrost freezes and gets lower and lower and lower, what do you think is down there? Right? I mean, we're talking about millions of years of who knows what the hell is down there. And so is that, to go a little biblical here, would that be the gate to hell as this permafrost melts and you have these critters, these possibly dangerous pathogens that could resurrect themselves with the snap of a finger? And so not only that, right, in this case, you're like, okay, well, it was only one of them, right? There's no big deal. It's one. They can't, it's not a virus. It doesn't, it's not a viral thing. It's not going to attach to a human host and then reproduce and all that other stuff, right? But this one, it basically, once it warmed up and started moving, it reproduced asexually. This thing actually cloned itself. And so just like that, right, you snap your fingers, and by accident, let's say they miss this thing, maybe they wake up some brand new, or because brand new is because old, right, because so old, brand new life form, organism, something that can just snap your fingers, and, as it warms up and eats and becomes comfortable and starts reproducing, and then they start reproducing, and you know how it goes, right? Everybody knows how the bunnies work. And so, I don't know, this is a little bit crazy to me. But so the question is this: do you guys think there's anything we can even do about this? And I think, kind of like it strikes me as that whole Fermi paradox thing, meaning that they say that advanced technological civilizations end up destroying themselves, and that's why they're not aliens zipping all over the galaxy, because they've at some point or other something has gone catastrophically wrong. And so whether that's something like nuclear war or something like this, let's say they dug up a ancient parasite of sorts, or ancient pathogen, or something that actually just changed the entire scope of the way the civilization worked. That's scary stuff. And like I said, I don't even know if there's something we could do about it. I think that's the problem here. And so maybe it's like kind of like. With the same thing in mind of like the speed of light. There's like a universal speed limit. The speed of light in a vacuum, right? Energy and mass, and as you go faster, your mass becomes larger. And so at some point, it just becomes not feasible for organic things to travel that fast. Maybe something like this, right? These things that they're living or in suspended animation in the permafrost. Maybe it's a similar thing, that maybe like a universal law or a rule that basically on planets like Earth or wherever else there might be life, that there's this cycle of things that happen where maybe you end up with situations like this where these dangerous pathogens do resurface. Even though this may have been a long ass time ago, we're talking about specifically. If it happens now, I think we all have a good idea of what happens in a pandemic, if you know what I'm saying. But I think in this situation, it may be I don't know, a little bit terrifying, right? I think that's really the point here and the question. But so then as I'm thinking about it, right, I was thinking about it tonight before we started doing this, and I just can't conceive of a single way we could even stop this. Like I can't. Again, I'm not the smartest dude out there, but what I'm saying is maybe you guys are. Maybe somebody out there has an idea how we may be able to stop this. Because think about that. If it is like a cyclical thing, and so like let's say the plagues of Egypt, like that type of thing, right? The biblical plagues, is that these things are basically bound to repeat themselves based on the weather cycles, based on the ice age's form. Everything's covered in ice. The pathogens lie dormant for tens of thousands of years, and then they start when everything starts to melt and they come back. Like I said, maybe this is part of the life cycle of where we're supposed to be. Maybe this is how things are, and as we talk about with just human civilization currently, is that. If one tiny thing happens, we are screwed. Like, we are seriously screwed. Then I say tiny things, but like something like maybe a Carrington event, right? Like a sunspot, like a coronal mass ejection is what they're called. So imagine something like that happens. It burns up a bunch of satellites. It makes them not functioning. Like, our civilization would go to hell in a handbasket. It would happen incredibly fast. And so people, right, everybody out there in many of the first world places, first world countries in the world are dependent on GPS, on these GPS satellites, right? Dependent on everything, like on the banks working on. And so if you do anything and you end up, derailing civilization with just a tiny thing, and millions of people dead, or maybe more than that, tens or hundreds of millions of people, this is the type of thing that would basically be maybe like I'm suggesting, that sort of speed limit to civilization, right? Is that you're not allowed to advance because there's this circular cycle that happens based on pathogens from the past, and until you can actually become, let's say, competent enough to deal with something like this as they develop, then maybe that's why. Maybe that's why, 2 planets over or something, or on Mars, there's not still life as they said there used to be. Who knows? Like, I'm just kind of throwing ideas out there. But like I said, I can't even conceive of a single idea that would stop this from happening, right? If this is literally where we're going to go with this, I think that it's a little bit terrifying, because I don't know how you could bottle it up We're talking about level 4 labs and stuff like that with the whole Wuhan thing, and that got out of there, right? So again, was it released? Wink, wink, right? Was it intentional? I don't know. But it's almost assuredly came from that lab. Well, again, that's what the propaganda is saying now. They couldn't say it last year. They're saying it this year. So I don't know. But you get these types of things, and I just don't really understand. I don't get it. But that's why I have you. If you guys have comments, questions, you want to talk about this further in depth, maybe we're going to talk about the asexual reproduction here in just a little bit. But if you want to be part of the show, give us a call at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And here's the paper, actually. So there's an actual scientific paper from Cell.com that this is where the information came from. Okay, so as you know, when this stuff hits and they start talking about this stuff, there's it usually comes from some scientific paper, right? So the press will kind of grab hold of this and run with it and do their thing, right? They're going to clickbait the hell out of it because that's what they do. And so, for instance, this is what kind of started this whole thing, was this particular paper. I've linked it in all the chats, and you guys can check it out. But I just want to read this top part to you because it's fascinating. This is exactly what they're talking about. And let's see, let's get that off the screen. Specifically, why this news story happened now. Okay, so here we go. The summary of this paper, again, like I said, this is from Cell.com, and this is where this whole thing started and how this got in the news cycle. So in natural permanently frozen habitats, some organisms may be preserved for hundreds to tens of thousands of years. For example, stems of Antarctic moss were successfully regrown from over millennium-old sample covered by ice for about 400 years. Likewise, whole campion plants, Campion, were regenerated from seed tissue preserved in relict 32,000-year-old permafrost, and nematodes were revived from the permafrost of 2 localities in northeastern Siberia, with source sediments dated over 30,000 years old. These bdelloid rotifers, microscopic multicellular animals, are known for their ability to survive extremely low temperatures. Previous reports suggest survival after 6 to 10 years when frozen between negative 20 degrees to 0 degrees Celsius. So here in this report, we have the survival of an obligate parthenogenic bdelloid rotifer recovered from northeastern Siberian permafrost, radiocarbon dated to 24,000 years ago. This constitutes the longest reported case of rotifer survival in a frozen state. We confirmed the finding by identifying rotifer actin gene sequences in a metagenome obtained from the same sample. By morphological and molecular markers, the discovered rotifer belongs to the genus Adineta, Adineta, and aligns with a contemporary Adineta vega, isolate collected in Belgium. So experiments demonstrated that the ancient rotifer withstands slow cooling and freezing for at least 7 days. We also showed that a clonal culture can continuously reproduce in the laboratory by parthenogenesis. Now, again, right? This is about as much as you want to read of a scientific paper ever, because they start throwing in some doozies of some words. I struggled a little bit there, but as you can see though, like this happened, and they talk about this happening back in 2015. But just now, this information is hitting the news cycles on the light of day because the paper has come out and they've done all the actual science on this. And but yeah, so again, it kind of begs the question, right? So if we have these actual pathogens that could in this case it's not a pathogen, it's an animal. But if we have this happening and there's a situation where these things can actually reproduce asexually like this one did, which is again like back to Jurassic Park, right? Was it Malcolm? Ian Malcolm, I believe, was the character's name. Jeff Goldblum. Life finds a way, right? And so I think this is part of the weirdness of just the world we live in. And let's see, hold on. There's let's see. Of course, a bunch of articles are suggesting climate change risk and all the rest of these things. I'm not going to get into the rest of that, but let's see. I'm going to pull this up, and what are we talking about? Let's talk about, where is it? Do I not have it? Yeah, let's go with this one here. Let's go with this one. So I pulled up a couple articles actually just looking at this asexual reproduction thing, because there are instances, of course, very much like the plot of that Jurassic Park, right? The original Jurassic Park, where so not only did the dinosaurs escape from the park itself, right? They were also reproducing asexually, because the humans thought, oh, we're so smart, we're only going to make the dinosaurs all female, right? And that way they can't reproduce, and so we're able to control the populations and all the rest of this, right? Well, the best laid plans of mice and men, they say, right? So this here, if you're not familiar with this, many of you probably are, but I just want to make sure we add it to the show as just kind of a basis on what is actually happening out there. Now, this is what this is, and this is from the actual science of Jurassic Park. Okay, asexual reproduction requires no fusion of gametes and needs only one parent rather than two. Instead of introducing variation, the offspring is genetically identical to the single parent. In the book analogy, which they're talking about Jurassic Park, it's like the single parent photocopying two copies of each of the chapters, so they are exactly the same when compared to each other and when compared to the parent itself. Individuals produced by asexual reproduction are known as clones. Now that kind of turns this into a little bit more, let's call it terrifying. Clones. Right? We can take this into Star Wars and cloning and all kinds of weird stuff. But the bizarre part is this has nothing to do with any of that. Like, this is a natural process, all right? An actual natural process. So we'll get into, of course, some of the things, like some of the little more fun things with this, talk about that black oil and the buried in the Antarctic and X-Files as we go tonight. But again, I want to hear from you. Do you think there's anything we could actually do about this? And as I'm suggesting here, do you think that maybe this is sort of a planetary speed limit to civilization, to progress, to actual technological advancement, that there's this maybe cyclical process that happens where these pathogens or entities or animals or whatever you want to call them from the distant past end up being resurrected in the modern world. And of course, as a result, like I said, we saw in the past year and a half the pandemic, or whatever you want to call it. We see how people react to this type of thing. Can you imagine if it was 10 times worse, right? If it was 100 times worse, like, who knows? Like, this could be really, really, really bad. So anyway, this is, let's see, did I link that? I did link that. Okay. So in any case, that's what we're talking about. And here's another one. So this is from animalogic.ca. And this is 6 surprising animals that can change sex, right? Of course, because they have to, be able to adapt to the natural world. And if they cannot clearly find mates, then you have to be able to reproduce somehow, right? And so this is an interesting thing that again, it's not even like you would expect it to be. It's not even do this in a laboratory or anything. This actually happens in nature. Pretty crazy stuff. So here we go. This is let me just burn through this real fast. Still taking your phone calls tonight. If you have comments on this, what do you think? The main question in my mind about this is it seems like this is inevitable. That's the statement. But meaning, is there anything we can do about this? Is there anything at all we can do about this? Because this, like I said, coming out of an ice age, it seems like, you can't just like bottle up the Siberian permafrost. It's out there and it's going to do its thing and it's going to melt, right? Literally coming out of every single ice age. So it kind of makes you wonder is if maybe there was maybe an advanced civilization like some people have suggested with maybe Lemuria or Atlantis or places like this, like ancient, like millions of years ago type thing, that were somehow maybe wiped out. Possibly, I'm speculating, of course, and making a huge claim here, but maybe wiped out by something like these pathogens that are cyclical every several tens of thousands of years or even millions of years. Who knows? But I hate to say that's our fate here, but interesting stuff. So here we go. This is I'm going to burn through this real fast. Still taking your phone calls tonight. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link. troubledminds.org is the official website. And let's see. Here we go. Let's go to this article real quick and talk about this. So 6 surprising animals that can change sex, right? Fish, they say, fish. Of all the sex changers in the animal kingdom, fish are the most well known. For clownfish, it's very much a man's world because all clownfish are in fact born male. The most dominant male of the group will become female. There will only be one female per clownfish group. If she dies, then it's normally down to the largest male to change sex and take her place. And so you see, right? It's very similar here, is that nature finds a way to adapt, even though, male and female and these things for reproduction, they end up being, let's say, what would you say? Fungible, maybe. I don't know. Interchangeable. Okay, so here we go. Fish, right? Oh, fish, no problem. Corals. I didn't know this. Did you know this? To jump to something a little more obscure, in 2008, it was discovered that mushroom corals can also change sex in both directions. In comparison to fish, very little is known about the sex lives of corals, although it seems quite common for polyps to bud off from the parent in a form of clonal reproduction. Whether this ability to change sex will be discovered in other coral species remains to be seen. And of course, right, I see somebody in the chat there in the Fringe Discord putting Alex Jones with the frogs, the frog memes. Yeah, I think we'll get to frogs in a sec. But anyway, so more animals that can actually change sex here. Number 4, slugs. All right, again, I didn't know this. Did you know this? I knew about the frogs, right? And I think that's part of the basis of the Jurassic Park, the book, right, by Michael Crichton, and the movie that they replaced some of the DNA for the dinosaurs with frog DNA. And so as a result, some of these frogs were able to change sex based on whatever they needed to happen, right, to reproduce. And so that frog DNA that was built into the dinosaurs, Jurassic Park clearly is this fiction, but it allowed the dinosaurs, even though they were all female, to reproduce somehow. So here we go. Number 4 is slugs on this list. Amongst animals with a weird sex life, slugs are surely right up there at the top of the list. For slugs, it seems choosing one sex isn't just enough. Slugs are hermaphrodites, having both female and male reproductive organs, which they use to mate simultaneously. Unfortunately, things get even weirder with a group called the banana slugs. These slimy critters engage in apophallation, which is a scientific term for biting off the partner's penis. Yep, I said it. Apophallation, which is a scientific term, it bears repeating, for biting off the partner's penis. Some scientists have hypothesized that preventing the partner mating as a male again might be a selective advantage. Other than that, it's just weird. It's just weird. Here we go, frogs. Back to the Alex Jones frog meme. We'll get to this, actually. We'll finish this up in a sec as we go. So tonight we're talking about this article, right? This came out, again, New Scientist reported this yesterday. This tiny animal revived after 24,000 years entombed in Siberian permafrost. And so my question tonight is not just this in particular, because it continues to happen, but is there anything you think we could do as a human species to stop these things from occurring? Because I think it's only a matter of time. As Fauci and these guys have said, that they fully expect pandemics to happen. It's just part of being in the world. But my speculation at this point is, do you think that this is sort of a limiting factor to technological civilizations, and it's sort of a cyclical thing that stops us from reaching a certain point? That's the question tonight. That's what we're talking about. And of course, we are taking your phone calls. If you want to be part of the show tonight, give us a call at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. More of this conversation after the break.
All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. There are other forces at work in this world, Frodo, besides the will of evil. Bilbo was meant to find the ring, in which case you also were meant to have it. And that is an encouraging thought.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and this is the show where we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We do this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. We stream on DLive, Facebook, and YouTube, and broadcast live on the Fringe FM. Taking your phone calls tonight if you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can find the phone number and the Discord link at troubledminds.org. That's the official website. And what we're discussing tonight is more information in the news here. An article by New Scientist says a tiny animal was revived after 24,000 years, entombed in the Siberian permafrost. 24,000 years. And it got me thinking, is this part of the natural life cycle on Earth? Meaning that just like there's a universal speed limit of sorts, is there an actual, maybe a limiter? Maybe a cyclical limiter, a biological limiter that keeps advanced civilizations from reaching the point where they're long-term and sustainable. And again, so the question for me is that can we do anything about this? And if we can't, clearly, I think this may fit my theory there, is that there's some sort of actual, like a biological limit based on just the time frames of pathogens that have maybe been buried in the permafrost, maybe pathogens that are yet to be rediscovered from 1 million years ago type of thing. Like Kelly said in the chat there, I was reading the chat during the break, and Kelly said that, that's just the Siberian permafrost. Wait till Antarctica starts melting and some of the things down there start to get out. So who knows? I mean, if that's like, we're talking millions and millions of years ago, like we're, 24,000 years, this thing coming back to life is nothing, like literally nothing. So I think that's what we're doing tonight. We're talking about that, discussing whether there's anything we could even do about this. I think that's the question that probably bothers me the most about all this, is I'm not sure we can. I just don't think that, given the technology we have and just, so many people on the earth, that if something like just horrific gets out, let's call it an alien pandemic of sorts. I'm just not so sure. I'm not so sure we could do a damn thing about it. So we are taking your phone calls tonight if you want to be part of the show. I'm asking for some ideas out there. Do you think it's possible for us to contain something like this with the melting permafrost? Again, like I said, if you want to talk about global warming and climate change and that type of thing, fine. The climate changes. It always has. It's always going to continue. And so when it goes in these cycles, these pathogens or whatever these creatures are, they seem to resurrect. They seem to come back into the modern day life, for good. What would you say? For better or worse, I guess. For better or worse. Now we got Rohan on the horn here. Are you there, buddy? Rohan, test 1 2.
Yeah.
How you doing,
just
buddy?
Unmuted.
What's up, my man? Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
I'm not too bad. How are you? Okay. So I'm enjoying the show. It's a good one.
Thank you. This is there's a lot here, right? What do you think about this permafrost stuff? Do you think that literally there's any way around this? I mean, to me, it seems inevitable. Am I wrong there?
Wow.
Back me off the cliff.
Wow.
Help me out.
No, I'm with you, but not. I am and I'm not. I can see what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm with that. Like, okay, I trust life and the universe. Do you know what I'm saying? And I often think it's the meddling that we do that screws things up. Do you know what I'm saying? Because nature seems to, like we said before, life finds a way. Yeah, and life wants to get more complex and interconnected. You know what I mean? It's a creational universe. So, do you know what I mean? I don't think we need to worry. We would have been wiped out already, wouldn't we? Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think that's
sort of my thinking.
So you're right, and so there you go. Thank you for backing me off of that edge. So we've persisted somehow, but I think that you can go back in certain points in history, and there were a lot less people, and maybe the population ebbs and flows, and you can look at something like the Black Death in Europe, right, when it killed like 1 out of every 3 people in Europe or something like that. But there are things like that. Yeah, but sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, and they talk, at least in Britain, they talk it was the fire of London that kind of burnt it, separated things a bit. Do you know what I mean? To sort of slow it down, like. But obviously, that's all debatable.
Yeah.
But, I think this idea it's been explored before, though. So this triggered me. I got triggered, Mike. But it triggered me in a good way. There was an old black and white film I saw as a kid, and I've been trying to look it up for the whole show, and I can't find it. And basically, they found it's old black and white film. They found an ancient humanoid species they didn't know. Somebody cuts the finger, blood gets on the bone, the flesh starts regrowing, and this thing's like some really hard to kill Neanderthal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So
on them roads, and I'm thinking, hang on, we had that. Didn't you have that? Let's reanimate them old soldiers, and then we got talk of these giants in Afghanistan that seem to be able to regenerate, whatever. And it's like, then it brings me into that. What is in Antarctica? Could it be the old ones? There's ancient titans in there.
The Stargate is buried in Antarctica that actually will bring in Cthulhu. Yeah, I mean, like, who knows? Like literally, who knows? I mean, Earth is so old, and it's still even young by universal standards. It's still like, again, I think partially it's fun to kind of go out there on the limb and think about that stuff. But then it's also, it's like I'm saying with this, I like how you said it. Life finds a way. All right. So you could even say that, in a negative aspect like this, like the life finds a way, and it might be the pathogens. It might be the asexual reproduction. It might be these things kind of recreating themselves, a resurrection of sorts after, let's say, 1 million years or something. Right. But then also, I think you're right. So not just that, I think in the same span, I think that, the human beings are in some capacity maybe more robust than we give us credit for. And so thank you for walking me back off that cliff. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and you've kind of already had practical experience of this with the Wim Hof stuff. So you know about sort of these hidden things. And I was just talking in Discord with someone about that sense where people are staring at you. And that's a known thing, galvanic skin response. So we have got stuff going on.
Yeah.
They must have been pretty rugged people built America, didn't they? They were a lot tougher than we are these days.
I think that's easy to say, though. Yeah, definitely.
I get what you're saying with that, because I don't know if you're familiar with once the Earth, at one time, the Earth got a runaway snowball effect where the whole planet was covered in ice. And it basically created greenhouse gases, and then the volcanoes melted it off. But during that time, the ocean life, they were doing great, because some of this ice was like glass, so light was still getting through, so they were loving it, but they had no predators. And I see what you're saying there. If you get one of those things, like in the film Life from 2017 with Ryan Reynolds, they find a sample, a probe that's come back from Mars. The ISS goes and checks it out, and this thing's so OP, it's responsible for why there's no life on Mars. It's such an overpowered thing. Its whole body grows rapidly, it learns rapidly, its whole body is a muscle and a brain. So they just don't know how to deal with it. Do you know what I mean? And it just takes over everything. It ends up, the twist at the end is it ends up going in the wrong shuttle. They try and get rid of it, and it's going to crash on Earth. So it's like it's going to get decimated by one life form. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's scary to wonder,
Well, exactly. But then, so we are coming out of an ice age, all right? And so how much of that is, this whole climate change thing? And like I said, I don't want to get into that can of worms. But so regardless, it's melting no matter what. So I think that's part of the scary part about this is specifically not just this critter, like this one's harmless, right? As far as we're aware. But then what about the ones that are not? And kind of that back to that whole, X-Files, black oil, the alien pathogens, this type of thing. And like I said, it doesn't even have to be alien at some point, because if it's literally been gone from the face of the earth for 1 million years and comes back, it may as well be alien, right? I think it may as well be for sure.
Exactly. And we were, I like the point that Darryl made straight away, because that's military thinking. Let's weaponize it. Because that's the first thing you think from a defense perspective, isn't it? What can you do to hurt people with it so we can defend against it? But then that takes me to Prometheus, man. And I'm like, what if you find one of them down there? Some old canister. Oh, look, it's a Baghdad battery. Crack that baby open. And,
and the gin from the days of old. You can't let the genie out of the bottle because you can never put it back.
That's right. You're done.
You're done. Yeah, maybe. And so I don't know. Like, I've talked about in the past on a show actually bringing a pathogen from Mars accidentally, right? Because we clearly won't know what it is until it gets here, because we're going to have like a robot scoop it up and then have some kind of plan to bring the thing back. But then once it gets here, you really don't know what's in it until you take it into a laboratory and put it under the microscopes and do all the, the radiocarbon and all the stuff on it, right? So I think
exactly, yeah.
But so with that said, it's the same sort of situation with like Wuhan, right? It's the same thing. So like we're talking about a level 4, that. Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking that same thing. I was like, well, how? I don't know. You don't need to answer this, but how far do you trust NASA to get things right? How far do you trust them to have stringent protocols and do things just right for our best interest? How far do you trust, like say, a bio for weapons lab? I mean, what comes out of weapons labs? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, exactly. And where'd they get it from? How are they weaponizing it? What are they doing to it? Like there's a lot there. There's a lot that's clearly happening too. Like they're doing these things. This is not, and these are not accidents.
I've seen a story recently where there was something to do with, I'm going to butcher this, but there was something to do with biologists to figure out how to program cells. They don't know how it works, but they can make it happen. So they're just going to do it, even though they don't know the function or what it's going to, what the impacts are. It's a bit like that. You don't know what electron exactly is, but you can make it do stuff. They figured that out with cells. So it's like they're just going to go ahead and do it. Don't know how it works. And I think it's like kind of thinking in science that kind of gets me a bit worried. It's not the virus that scares me, it's idiots that scare me. Well, like the old A-bomb, the atom bomb. It could create a cascade, it could burn the atmosphere, it might create a chain reaction and turn the Earth into a black hole. Screw it, press it,
Right. Yeah. Well, exactly. Like the CERN and that whole thing. Like, and I think didn't China just create their own artificial sun or something like this too? I mean, there's a whole bunch of I think we're running down a dream, and it's a bad dream. It's a nightmare. It's not good. It's not good. But who knows, right? This is how science is done, and so you don't know, right? You don't know when things explode until you make them explode. So. Maybe that's a good
that's
thing.
it. That's it. I mean, there was a theory with the old Atlantis stuff, and there is a tiny bit of evidence for it. There's a big dip under the ocean, as if like as an asteroid hit it, a big one. But I've seen where the remote viewers tried to remote view Atlantis back in the day, and they said, what happened to it was they blew it up, but accidentally. But I don't know, it's remote viewing into it, but it's Foresight Institute. They're pretty good, and they said basically they tried to tried to drill to the Earth's core to use it as like a thermo generator. Do you know what I mean? And they just kind of popped a part of it, just kind of cracked it like a little balloon, popped it a bit, and then that's it. That's the end of them.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Yeah.
It's a wrap.
And that's but that's what we're dealing with here. It's so I don't know. So what do you think about the theory that we are cyclical, and maybe this is a way for nature to maybe keep itself from becoming technologically superior, right? Maybe it's like a speed limit of biological proportions that happens on like a million-year scale or something like that. What do you think about that theory?
Right, that's a good idea. It kind of reminds me of Thanos. We've got to balance the Earth or kill half the people just to keep it level, like sort of thing. But then I think I had a good think about that when you said that, and then I thought, well, same again back to the life creates. What does life do? What does this creational universe do? It's constantly looking for more interconnection, constantly looking to evolve, constantly looking to get more and more dense. And I know it gets a bit into philosophy and religion and stuff, but if you're going to make a creational universe, surely you want it to do as good as it can. So if there's a limiter, I'm not saying there's not, but if there's some kind of limiter in place, I would propose that that's artificial. that someone's put that there. That's not a natural mechanism, because the natural mechanism is symbiosis, keep evolving, right? So if there's some kind of limiter there, then that's been put there, which then is a whole new can of worms, isn't it? With another can of worms inside.
Then we're talking about the Matrix. Then we're talking about a world that isn't a world at all, right?
Yeah, or aliens that have left something because they've been manipulating us and don't want us to get too advanced, and it's just, But like I say, thing is though, I don't know if people think about this too often, but I do. We live on a thin crust, on supposedly on a lava ball that's always shifting. We're on an unstable planet around a stable star, so I don't know.
Well, exactly. And I think Kelly said this to longtime caller of the show. Actually, the very first caller on the show, I'm pretty sure. He always says that we're traveling at 30,000 miles an hour on a rock in the middle of space or something like that. Like there's absolutely no reason for us to be afraid. And I agree. I'm not, again, like I said, I'm not a fear monger here. I'm just trying to maybe think of a way. Like maybe there's a proactive way here that this can be stopped. Right? If it seems to be inevitable in my mind, clearly somebody out there, like you just came on and you backed me off a cliff, right? So life finds a way through the permafrost, but also possibly humans find a way because we're life too. So maybe.
Exactly.
So maybe.
We've got a lot of power. I mean, there's a reason we're like sort of the apex predator on the planet. We're not strong compared to other apes and stuff. Well, we're not apes, really. That's why they're different. But we've got that intelligence, haven't we? We've got something else going on. Whatever you want to call it, spirit, soul, some extra consciousness, human neocortex, whatever the reason, we've got a lot of capacity to do a lot more. We're not like sitting in equilibrium like all the other creatures, finding a perfect niche. We're redefining the environment to suit us. So you don't want to knock that one off. And that's where ancient aliens and stuff does me in sometimes, because it's always like, we can't do anything. It's got to be aliens. And it's like, no, we've done a lot of cool stuff, we've done like for a long time. And I think we've been here way longer than like 200,000 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even Graham Hancock was talking about the ancient coming out of an ice age. He says he's finding tons of evidence that an ancient civilization was there, and survived.
Right, exactly.
So why wouldn't some of them survive?
Yeah, no, I agree. And so human innovation, I'm going to tack onto that, like you said. So I live out here in Vegas, everybody knows that. And just southeast of here, there's the Hoover Dam. Now, I've never been to Egypt and actually saw the pyramids with my own eyes. But let me tell you something. If you go down to the Hoover Dam and you stand on that concrete monstrosity, people built that thing. That's like 10 great pyramids, Granted, they had, modern equipment, but this was done in the 30s or something. I mean, it's unbelievable the things people can do. So yeah, I'm with you. Thank you for putting my head back in the right place here, because like I said, sometimes you sit here and you talk to yourself and you just keep convincing yourself that the end is nigh.
It's all right, Mark. I talk to myself all the time and I still have arguments,
Who wins?
Nobody.
That sounds about right. That totally sounds about right. Okay, so I appreciate you calling, man. Anything else while we got you on here tonight? I'm not trying to run you off, but we can keep on talking about whatever you want to talk about.
That's cool, man. I just wanted to get them points in quick before I forgot. Or they just sent me mad.
Yeah, exactly. No sweat. I appreciate it, man. This is Rohan, guys, from the Fringe chat here. You can find him on the Fringe FM Discord. Go to fringe.fm/chat, and Rohan's in there. He's also in the Troubled Minds Discord as well. Very active, and I appreciate the phone call. Appreciate all your great input and all your help, man. He does a lot for the show, sharing links for everybody on the Fringe, not just the show. So thank you for that. I appreciate it, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, anyways, man. And I'm from the UK.
From the UK. Oh, that's right. We got a caller from the UK. That's right. Somebody in the chat said, no chance we're getting a caller from the UK. And we just did. Look at that. Hell freezes over. Thanks, bro. That's Rohan from the UK. Appreciate it, my man. All right. So tonight we're talking about exactly like we have been, right? This animal revived after 24,000 years entombed in the Siberian permafrost. So let's just revisit real quick. So not only did they dug this thing up, Okay, let me just read this again. A tiny animal called a rotifer had been revived after spending 24,000 years frozen in permafrost. It is the longest a rotifer has been observed to survive in such extreme cold. While simple organisms like bacteria can often survive millennia in permafrost, quote, this is an animal with a nervous system and brain and everything, says Dr. Malovin at the Pushino Scientific Center for Biological Research in Russia. It isn't quite a record, though. Nematode worms have reportedly been revived from permafrost after 30,000 years. But no rotifer has been known to endure for so long. So that's not just the only weird part. There's another weird part to this. Check this out. So not only after 24,000 years did they pull the actual rotifer out of the permafrost and it became revived, they warmed it up, they gave it some food, and it started moving. It started doing its thing. But look what happened after that. So Malovin and his team drilled into permafrost near the let's say this right, Elysia River in northeast Siberia, Russia in 2015. They found a single rotifer, a worm-like creature less than 1/4 of a millimeter long. When the researchers warmed it up and gave it food, it became active. It also reproduced because it is a belloid rotifer that can clone itself without the need for a sexual partner. So not only did this thing wake up after 24,000 years of being frozen, basically, then it started to actually become. It started like cloning itself. It started reproducing. So after 24,000 years, like I said, life kind of finds a way, and then this thing just began cloning itself. So interesting that these things are happening out there in the world we live in. And like I said, I appreciate that call, Rohan, kind of backing me off the cliff here. Sometimes you talk to yourself, right? And like you have a hard time convincing yourself that the anything good can come of this. But life does find a way, and it's not just these pathogens or these little animals that live in the permafrost up there as they become resurrected. It's also humans. Humans persist. Humans find a way. And yeah. So, okay, let's see. What else do we got? A little skimming the chat here, seeing if we got anything else. Okay, so that's the deal, right? So we were actually talking about at the top of the hour some of the actual other critters in the world that can do asexual reproduction. So let's just burn down to the bottom of this real fast. We were on frogs. Of course, we had the Alex Jones meme in the Fringe Discord there with the Alex Jones beating his chest and saying the frogs are turning gay, which, whatever you think. But frogs, of course, so we'll say frogs. And a spontaneous sex change has also been observed in the common reed frog from West Africa. And, of course, part of the plot for Jurassic Park and how that whole thing shook out in the book there. Number 2 on this list is snakes. Some snakes, some female snakes, such as the yellow-bellied water snake, kept alone in captivity, have unexpectedly given birth to litters of baby snakes. Known as parthenogenesis, it is a type of asexual reproduction and might have evolved as a last resort strategy when no males can be found. And talk about not actually having or life finding a way. I think that's the craziest part, right? Is things like that. And number 1 on the list, butterflies, birds, and lobsters. So very occasionally, animals can be born as both male and female. But these unusual cases aren't hermaphrodites. They are literally half of each sex. This is perhaps most striking in butterflies, where each wing would be a different color. Known as glandromorphs, it is most likely occurs as a mistake in very early cell division. Let's say this right. Gaiandromorphs have subsequently been found in a handful of other animals, including birds and lobsters. And so there you go. Interesting stuff here. And as we said, life finds a way. Nature finds a way and does its thing. So as we're doing this, we're still taking your phone calls. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And the question is this. If something happens and a actual pathogen is revived from the permafrost, do you think it's inevitable for something awful to eventually happen here? That's the question tonight. Kind of kicking the can down the road and asking these questions, and that's what we do. More Troubled Minds after the break. Don't go anywhere.
free.
The truth is out there, and so are we. KTLK, Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We are streaming on Facebook, DLive, and YouTube. We are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we are talking about this tiny animal revived after 24,000 years entombed in Siberian permafrost. And of course, if there's one thing, there's another thing, and there's going to be more of these as we come out of this ice age. Again, like I said, global warming, climate change, whatever. The climate always changes. It has always changed. So is this, the question I posed, do you think this is some sort of biological limiter that kind of keeps maybe technological progress at bay? Kind of like I said, I was equating this to maybe the speed of light in the vacuum, right? To where it's a universal speed limit for particular reasons. But I think that this could be maybe a similar sort of thing to kind of stop not just faster than light travel or breaking the laws of physics, but maybe it's kind of built into the cyclical systems of the Earth to actually stop us from becoming whatever, super technologically advanced, because of course you'd have to really be super advanced to avoid something like this as it happens. So there you go. We're taking your phone calls tonight, and one more segment on Fringe, which is about 25 minutes or so. So if you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's go to Matt in California. What's up, my friend? You're on Trouble Minds with Mike. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Mike?
Doing very well.
Hey, interesting topic tonight. So I just want to talk about the X-Files, because you said you were talking about the movie, but there's actually an episode of the X-Files. It's like the 6th episode of the X-Files, and it's where Mulder and Scully go to this lab in the snow. I don't know where it is, in Antarctica or somewhere, Alaska, in the snow, and everyone's already dead. And they find, it's exactly what you're talking about. It's like they found a worm in the permafrost, and it's like a parasite that attacks people and makes you, I guess it turns you evil. Like it uses you as a host. And Mulder and Scully had to figure out how to beat it, and they do, of course. But that's the X-Files episode.
Nice. Is it?
So if you've never seen that, I want to go back and look at it.
Yeah, was that season 1? Do you recall?
I'm not 100%. Yeah, I believe it was right in the beginning of. It was one of the first episodes of the X-Files.
Okay.
Because some of those, I love the X-Files, but some of those shows actually scared me. It was actually a scary episode, because it could really happen. I don't know about being a parasite or anything, but it's what you're talking about. How they found something in the snow and the ice that was, it got melted and it was alive, came back alive.
Yeah,
anything like this, if we always jump to the bad conclusions, but we're not prepared if it is something that is harmful.
Yeah, well, I think that's obviously clear just based on the past year, right? I mean, it's something, I don't want to downplay people dying, but talking of pandemics, they could be much, much worse. Like I said, look at the Black Death in Europe. I mean, clearly a different time and a different age and all that, but I mean, these things could be actually horrific. And so I guess the good news is that even without vaccines and modern science and all the rest of that, humanity found a way through that. So maybe that our strength lies in numbers, and I mean dead soldiers. Hate to be morbid, but maybe that's it. We can win with numbers here. I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't like to be all doomsday, but I mean, like I said, we weren't prepared if it's something bad, but maybe it could be something good. You never know. So I just wanted to throw out that X-Files episode, because if you've seen it, it's exactly what we're talking about tonight. It's like a worm in the snow, and it breaks loose. And Mulder and Scully beat it. So
yeah, of course. Do you know what they did?
Right.
Do you know how that concluded? Can you spoiler alert us? How did that happen? Maybe there's a clue for us. That's all right. If you don't know, that's cool.
They
It's all
like
good.
they cut it out. It's like crawling in your skin, and they like cut it. Oh, they isolated themselves because whatever the pathogen, the parasite was, it made you violent. Like not a zombie, but like made you like violent and like lash out to people. And so they were killing the other people there. But they isolated themselves. They like hid away because you can't trust. You don't know who. They didn't know who was infected and who wasn't. There's no way to tell. And they isolated themselves, and they end up cutting it out of people, like with a knife, like sedating them and holding them down and cutting the worm out, and then like stepping on the worm and killing it. And that's how they beat it. And then they end up like somehow getting a signal out, and they come and save them.
Nice.
Like
The good old fashioned knife. Sometimes old technology works, man. Matt, I appreciate the call.
I just wanted
my
to
friend.
put that out there.
I appreciate it. Anything else while we got you on the phone?
No, just thank you for that. I just want to talk about the X-Files.
Right on, bro.
Have a good night.
Right on, bro. You too. Thanks for the phone call. That's Matt from California. If you guys want to be part of the show, we're taking your phone calls tonight. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we're talking about this permafrost stuff. And it happens, it hits the news cycle from time to time. Again, this is from New Scientist. And the tiny animal revived after 24,000 years, entombed in Siberian permafrost. And just like Matt said, right, the X-Files episode, this became a problem, right? This became a problem. And of course, I asked how they defeated it because, well, maybe now I need to carry a knife around with me because you never know. You never know. We're going to have to cut a parasitic resurrected worm from tens of thousands of years ago out of your friend. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, all right. So part of this, so the weird thing is this. So not only, again, if you guys are just joining us, I know people come and go in these radio broadcasts, but this is what we're talking about tonight. So this tiny animal was revived after the 24,000 years, entombed in the Siberian permafrost. But so not only did it come back to life, they warmed it up, they gave it some food, and it started moving. But then, crazy enough, it started actually cloning itself, like reproducing asexually, this thing. And so, right, again, it was only one of them, but maybe this thing could resurrect an entire whatever, like bring back millions of these things just by this asexual reproduction thing. So you never know. I think that's part of the problem here is that as the permafrost tends to melt and continues to melt, like I said, ice age coming out of it, it's a normal thing, guys. It's a normal thing. It happens every ice age. It happens, right? It freezes and then it melts. So here we are. But okay. And so this thing is whatever this thing is. And if it can actually just start reproducing all by itself, well, we have a problem, don't we? Only if this thing's dangerous, which, of course, they think this is not dangerous. It's nothing like that. But you get my point. You see what we're talking about here. And we were talking about Jurassic Park a little bit and how, the best laid plans of mice and men with, of course, it's fiction, very much like the X-Files that Matt said is fiction. However, a lot of these things are based on actual science, right? Because, of course, that's how you make the scariest movie, right? You base it on something that could plausibly happen, which, of course, would be something like this. And so who knows? As this continues to happen, like there's a few articles here about it. The rotifer, this is from Gizmodo. I'm going to link a couple of these if you guys want to read up on this. The actual scientific paper itself, which is pretty good. If you guys like that, you can check it out as well. But I mean, so basically, my question is this. How do we stop this? How do we stop these things from happening if it is a natural cycle as part of the Earth? And maybe there's a way. Maybe there's no way. I don't know. But like I said, these ones so far haven't been dangerous as they've melted out of the Siberian permafrost. But as it continues, and these things continue to do this resurrection bit after thousands of years frozen, what could be there? What could be underneath? What could be part of this? And of course, all this in the news. This actually hit the news yesterday. This particular rotifer and the 24,000 year thing and the permafrost, but it came from a paper actually from 2015. And so here's the actual scientific paper. If you guys haven't seen that, I'm linking it in the chat. And I read just a little bit of the summary when we started tonight, but I'm not going to do that again because the words are really big and it's really boring. So in case you're into that, there it is. There's the actual paper where this came from. So, all right, what else do we got? So then then we were talking about the science behind Jurassic Park, and not just maybe resurrecting dinosaurs, right, through DNA and the rest of that, but also the actual reproduction asexually, as these things, this rotifer, as they call it, is resurrected from the permafrost and then immediately began cloning itself through that asexual reproduction. So interesting stuff here. So anyway, that's what we're talking about tonight, and we are taking your phone calls. If you want to be part of the show, you know what to do. Give me a call at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show, and you can talk to me and whoever else might be listening out there. And like I always say, you never know who might be listening, because like I say, I look at the podcast stats, and there's people that listen in China, and I crap on China quite a lot, so it makes me wonder who's listening in China. Anyway, all right. So here we go. This is some good stuff with the science of Jurassic Park and that asexual reproduction thing, right? Remember, they spliced the DNA with frog DNA, and then they were all female in the Jurassic Park, and then they thought they were so smart because then they wouldn't be able to reproduce. But then, of course, the dinosaurs started laying eggs all over the place because, well, as Ian Malcolm said in the movie, life finds a way, and I think there's something to that. So we were talking about the actual animals as well that can change their own sex, right? And so this is not as rare in nature as you might expect, right? So a fish is one, corals was another. We got slugs, frogs. Of course, frogs with the Alex Jones and the water makes the frogs gay. We got snakes that can actually lay eggs without a male in some cases. We've got butterflies, birds, and lobsters. All kinds of different things that are able to change their sex and possibly reproduce asexually. So that's what's up. So if you get these things out of the permafrost and then you snap your finger, they don't even need a host. They just start reproducing. That's a little bit frightening, if you ask me. So there you go. Phone number's up. Looking to hear from you guys. A few great calls tonight already. Looking for a few great more. 702-957-1037. Let's see. So then this is from actual worldcrunch.com. And so clearly this is one of those things where it is a risk. I think this is a risk going forward. I think this is something that we have to pay attention to as we start becoming more and more technologically savvy as people. Is these types of things are that could be extremely dangerous, including the pathogens here. And here's one. So this is from worldcrunch.com, and this is actually a little bit old. This is actually from way back in 2003 when they were talking about this. And check this out. So deadly pathogens frozen for tens of thousands of years in the soil of the Arctic Circle suddenly freed and reactivated because of global warming. It sounds like science fiction, and indeed, U.S. author Christy Eshman imagined a similar scenario as the premise for her 2015 thriller, The Laptev Virus. All right, and I know, talking about viruses is not so funny these days, but anyway, in it, Eshmahan imagines an oil company that, while drilling in the far north, accidentally releases a megavirus that's been dormant in the frozen tundra for 30,000 years. Death and mayhem ensue. The Laptev virus is just a story, of course, and yet, as much as we'd like to think otherwise, especially in the current context with the COVID-19 pandemic still running wild, maybe it wasn't from 2003. Oh, yeah. Wow, I can't read. It's from October of 2020. How about that? The possibility may not be so far-fetched. That, at least, is what French scientists Jean-Michel Claverie and Chantal Abrigel, co-founders of a research laboratory in Marseille, warn after successfully reactivating two virus, right? Both harmless to humans, that they discovered in the Siberian permafrost. So this stuff is happening. It isn't just related to this particular rotifer that was just found, right? What we've been talking about all night. These things are actually happening, and they're actually reactivating these viruses and bringing them back, basically resurrecting them, and bringing them back into the current sphere here, in the current the current time frame. And so if they can do it, right, here we go. So permafrost, of course, is the name given by geologists to this perpetually frozen and therefore impermeable soil that covers no less than a fifth of the Earth's surface, including half of Canada and Russia. It's also a real Pandora's box when it comes to microbial life. And that's the point here. That's really the point. Quote, unlike sea ice, Permafrost offers all the conditions required for microbial life to be fully preserved for tens or even hundreds of thousands of years, says Claverie. By that he means the absence of light and therefore ultraviolet radiation, the absence of oxygen, which acts like a powerful disinfectant on microbes, a negative and stable temperature, and a neutral pH level, among other things. And so the researcher recently returned from a mission in Yakutia, I don't know how to say that, the region of Siberia where the permafrost reaches a depth of up to 1 kilometer. The deepest layers are more than 1 million years old. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here, is that, we're talking about 24,000 years ago. They're able to resurrect this thing, okay? But now they're saying that there's parts of the deepest layers go back 1 million years, over 1 million years, and that's the type of stuff that actually makes you worried, makes me worried anyway. So what it says, diseases that no longer circulate, such as smallpox, officially eradicated since 1980, could reappear and even become endemic again. Quote, but that's probably not the worst case scenario, Claverie warns. The researcher explains that against diseases such as smallpox or anthrax, with which we are familiar, we have a measure of protection in the form of vaccines and or antibiotics. But what happens if the melting permafrost unleashes unfamiliar bacteria or viruses? Quote, there could be pathogens with which the immune system of Homo sapiens has never had to co-evolve, Claverie says. And there you go. That's real science. And I'm not making this stuff up. It's just interesting to me that when this stuff continues to happen in the news, that I don't see a plan for this. I don't see a task force being created in Washington, the Siberian Permafrost Task Force. You know what I'm saying? Wink, wink. You know what I'm talking about, right? But these are the types of things that probably should, we should probably have like an international watchdog group or something that's going up there and maybe, who knows? I don't know. What would you do? Like I said, how would you stop this? I think that's the thing there, is how would you stop this? That's the question. And so, other than, maybe be positive, well, being positive doesn't really stop terrible things, do they? Yeah, they do not. Exactly. What's up, Richard says, yeah, actual science, right? So let's see. I don't know. Like when it comes down to this, I think that, throw the hypothesis out that maybe this is that universal limiter, on planets that, from time to time, that the cycle resets and these pathogens kind of that we haven't had to coexist, like they said in the article here, they do come back. And when they do, humankind has a very, very horrible time with it. So I don't know. Go back to, like I said, Lemuria, Atlantis, places like this, ancient civilizations that they say existed, but nobody really knows where they went, where they vanished to. I wonder if there's some sort of maybe correlation here between this cyclical permafrost melting and the rest of this stuff coming and going. So anyway, I've got a few minutes left. If you guys want to be part of the show, taking your phone calls, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can go to troubledminds.org. That's the official website. Click the Discord link. And Shamanic says this. Yeah, this biolab folk wet themselves when they find eradicated organisms. Make me wonder why bring them back, they say, for preparedness. I say to make tons of money on weapon sales. And right? I think that's part of the problem is we have this, humankind tries to weaponize everything. And instead, what did Kelly say earlier? That's why it's called a weapons lab. Weapons lab. So anyway, as we kind of wind this down, that's what we're talking about tonight. And again, does it fit? Right? We're talking about Jurassic Park and the X-Files and things like this. Fiction, clearly, right? Fiction, no problem, of course. Nobody's sweating fiction. Except, right, in the cases of something like, 1984. That was fiction, wasn't it? I mean, it was fiction, right? What about Brave New World? Things like this. Like, at one time they were fiction, right? Jurassic Park, fiction. But at some point, we're going to have the actual technology to make these things happen or not make them happen, if you understand what I'm saying. So I don't know. Like that's part of what we do at Troubled Minds here. Like I said, this is not, it may seem like it sometimes, but it is not doom and gloom. And it is not what we're trying to do here. It's trying to look ahead, trying to get ahead of these things, trying to be aware of what's happening in the world around us as concerned citizens. I mean, I think we should probably, give a damn about this stuff, don't you? I think that, like I said, there's no task force in Washington watching the Siberian permafrost, right? But you see all the dumb stuff they have task forces for now anyway. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know. Like as always, it kind of comes down to just a situation of being prepared, of knowing what's going on, and all the rest of that. So there you go. What? Not humankind. Frankenlabs. Frankenlabs equals money in the chat there, Richard. What's up, buddy? All right, so we got a phone call. Let's take this and let's finish this discussion up. What's up, Paul? Paul from New Hampshire. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Mike, how are you? Good to hear from you tonight.
You as well. What's you've been listening, I hope. What's on your mind with this permafrost and pathogens and all the rest of us?
I have. I have been listening, and boy, there's again so many ways you can go with these things, and great subject though. I mean, because I think, I was recently talking to a friend of mine about, what's going on this planet and what's happening. And, are we the petri dish? But, when you bring up science, I think some of these things have already been proven that, you have genetic alteration going on. You have these things where we can, maybe create dinosaurs. Like you said in Jurassic Park, here we're going to go with, take some frog DNA, mix it up with a mosquito that was set in amber, and next thing you know, we got a brontosaurus walking around. Would that be a good idea? I don't know. Now I guess we get into the point of who's playing God here. Again, so many ways. Is it religious? Is it scientific? I'd like to go with the science part of that because I guess it's more provable. It's more relatable to people that can see actual evidence of these things happening, like animals that change their sexes. And like you said, I love that thing you were talking about, the guy from Jurassic Park there saying, life will find a way. Well, life has found a way, and here we are. And now we're talking about viruses, too. If it was that simple, I think we wouldn't be talking about it because, I'm always going to go to where I go, and that's the UFO thing, the place where, right now we're talking about fear-mongering on the fact that UFOs might be real. I mean, 6 months ago, we were all told that disclosure was coming, and now here we are living in a pandemic from a man-made virus. And I'm pretty confident that I can put out the evidence to prove that it was probably man-made, and I think you're probably on the same path as I am. But I think my point is that if aliens wanted, or if the world, if it was a soul thing, if we really are living on a prison planet, I think that's a good way to go here, is this prison planet type or petri dish that people like Linda Moulton Howe have put out of, all these different types of animals, insects, fish, the coelacanth that survived through thousands of years to eventually become unextinct, the condor, many species on this planet, right down to hominids, the missing link, that all of a sudden you have this chosen path where this is taken, that this seems to me that there's got to be some kind of intelligence inside. And, is it God? Is it aliens? I don't know, but there has to be somebody pulling the strings here. I don't think it's just a natural phenomenon that we're going through right now. And these things are kind of been taught by us by these movies you're bringing up.
Totally. Hey, Paul, we got to go. So if you want to hang around, you're welcome to. I can mute you. We'll come back to you after we're finishing up here.
Sounds good, Mike. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Hang tight. We'll be right back with you. All right. Check this out, guys. This is Troubled Minds on Michael Strange. Tonight we were talking about all kinds of fun stuff. It's what we do. If you want to be part of the show, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. Thanks for listening tonight, guys. I appreciate it a lot. Be sure, be strong, be true. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. Stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void if you're listening on the Fringe FM. If you're not and you're on Facebook, YouTube, and D-Live, one more hour of Troubled Minds coming up. Thanks again, guys. We will see you tomorrow night. Have a great one. All right, so you guys know the drill. We are now off the Fringe, so we got another hour coming up, and we got time for you. So if you guys have takes on this, and it's your show too. So basically, whatever you want to talk about is on the table here. We can kind of this is where we can range a little bit further with the discussion and the topics. And so we got Paul on the phone. We'll get back to him in just a couple minutes here, and we're looking to talk to you as well. The phone number is right there: 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we will be right back. 2-minute break. And we got Paul on the phone. We're going to go back to him and talking about this weird stuff, the Jurassic Park, the Life Finds a Way, the Siberian permafrost, and all the rest of this stuff. So let's do that. Wait, that's not good. 35 semitones. That's not good. All right, that's my soundboard. Hold on one sec. Play some music. We'll be right back. 2-minute break. Go do your thing. Grab some popcorn, top off your drink, put the kids in bed. More conversation coming up in just 2 minutes. Be right back. Kill this music. Let's do it. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. I'm here with Paul, New Hampshire UFO hunter, and we're still talking about this weird stuff, this Siberian permafrost. And like I said, I know this kind of keeps coming back in the news, and it's not a brand new discussion to us on this show, but I think that as these things continue to happen and get really pushed out into these news cycles, and people are discovering more and more of these pathogens out there, I think we have to maybe start taking this seriously, that there could be a serious problem here. So anyway, as we continue trucking here, let's go back to Paul in New Hampshire. What's up, my friend? Welcome back to Troubled Minds.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for hanging on with me. Yeah, great conversation again, man. I love this stuff. You know that. It's funny as you're talking about these things and we're going on. I keep coming back. It's just like in my mind about. I think I'm looking at science more than media and but then you put it all together and we look at these movies that we've watched. And, my mind goes to the Akashic record that there's so much more going on right now with what could actually happen here. And I think I mentioned this before you had to go to commercial, and that's and before I wanted to drop 4 F-bombs, by the way, but I won't do that.
You can do it now. Bro. Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Well, all good.
I might go off. I'm trying to stay cool here, by the way, but you got me really thinking. And I think when we go here, it's those people that, how do we find this stuff out? How did there were scientists that all of a sudden came into this place that somebody implanted in their minds that we can split DNA, we can add genetics, we can do these things. And if you go to what I delve in, the ancient alien theory and the fact that people have been around on this planet and the missing link, that, it has to be intelligent design. This is not just a fluke. This isn't, religion, I guess. I hate to go there because the religious people might get mad. I don't think there's probably a lot of born-again Christians out there that are going to get pissed off at me for saying this. And if they are, they're hopefully smart and sarcastic like I am. And maybe we can get to the bottom of this one day. Yeah, but yeah, it seems like you look at the things that are happening on the planet right now, and especially after this vaccine virus thing that's going on, where we're being controlled by the government. Okay, there's my rant for the night. Listening to people talk, about Kamala Harris going to Guatemala. Who cares? Is it going to change anything? No, obviously not. They threw her the hell out of there. So where are we going from here? Now, do we need a better virus to get rid of the bad DNA, or are we eventually going to get? Are we eventually get to the place where everybody, the good DNA figures it out? And maybe we get off this prison planet, if you want to go with that theory. I mean, there's so many theories here on why and how. And, it goes right back to the ancient alien theory, the moon, where it's at. I mean, there's so much evidence that I can shove down somebody's throat, they would choke on it. Especially a judge. And even though now, Mike, I've been there. Doesn't matter. It's what the laws say now. It's the laws. Well, the laws don't say this is happening. I love Jurassic Park movies. I went to see that movie 5 times when it came out. That was like we would just, go out, smoke a bowl, drink a beer, and go into the movies, and loved it. My buddy's like, you got to see this movie. And I had actually read the book, and I couldn't even believe they made the movie. And then I read the second book, and the second movie sucked. But it's what it is. You know what I mean? The first movie, it was incredible. And I think, too, when you look at what's going on with mass media, the movies Marvel, another great thing. What they do, great stories. I got goosebumps right now. I've watched Infinity War and Endgame, I don't know, a dozen times now because I just get bored and I want to watch Iron Man kick Thanos' ass, or Thanos come out of that thing covered in blood and go, I'm going to, we need to do something about this. We need to wake up. And I think that's the message that they've been portraying all on whoever they is. I don't know for sure. All opinion.
The Illuminati.
And
the Illuminati.
Heaven forbid we come up with opinions, Mike. Heaven forbid we come up with opinions because we might just be right.
Exactly. It's part of being wrong is sometimes you're right. A couple of great comments here in the chat. Chris says on Facebook, there's always a hidden truth in all so-called science fiction, kind of like a chocolate-covered almond. I like that. Robert adds, how convenient.
Good comment.
As more new pathogens are created and released on the world to reduce global population by exterminating 3 billion from the herd, thawed Arctic and Antarctic ancient pathogens can easily be blamed to cover for the evil SOBs that really are responsible for the mass killings. That's a hot take. Robert. Good stuff. Good stuff there. Any comments on that stuff there? I'm about to call you Ash.
Yeah, actually, a couple of great comments, Matt. The first comment, he nailed it. The science fiction that kind of, we're being educated by people that are smart enough to get it. That people, I've always loved going on a date and meeting a girl that said, I said, you want to watch a movie and put on Halloween? And I'm talking the Rob Zombie version, by the way. And, which was, to me, an awesome movie until you get to the rape scene. And then she's going, oh, I've been raped. Well, I don't want to get so bad. But unfortunately, that's what we're dealing with here is this mindset that everything around us is bad no matter how good it is. And, and we do this for entertainment purposes. And then the next thing you get to is the second comment where, what do you believe in? What do you don't, Mike? I'm kind of, in this place where, I said it again, the Akashic record. We've all had, some kind of information implanted in our brains. And let me, I'm sure you dream at night. I do too. A lot of weird things happening. We get to this place where, what is actual and what's reality? And I think right now it's a blurred line. And if you really kind of start to sift through it, you're going to get to the point where you're going to realize it's not as blurred as they want you to seem it is. And we went through that with the COVID thing. It's black and white. People died. It wasn't 3 billion. No, it was 500 million in the United States. It was Okay, people in India are dying now from COVID because I don't know why, by the way. It seems to be a newsworthy reference that they didn't wear masks. Could that be control mechanism going on? And, you know, quick story, my friend went to a band practice and they wanted him to wear a mask, and he said, well, everybody's vaccinated, and they still wanted him to do it, and walked out. And now he's the jerk. He's the head of the email that's going around that he didn't want to be controlled, and even though his wife controls him every night. And so where do you know, I think...
Hey man, we get to choose.
It's funny and it's relatable.
We get to choose our level of control. Come on, bro. Come on. That it's all about choice. It's all about choice.
You would like to think that, yeah, Mike. Yeah, right. You know, that's why I'm single. So I'll control myself, and you know, I'm not dating anybody. But his wife would control him more than somebody telling me to put on a mask. And if she, well, don't get me wrong, if she asked me to, you know, would I do it? It depends on the situation. But, you know, if we start losing billions of people, I think that's when, this is my first swear word of the night, I think, that's when the shit is going to hit the fan, when it really comes down. Because right now, as far as population goes and as far as viruses go, and if we're, you know, killing the planet, I mean, how many times have you heard the word global problems, warming, whatever, environmental, while we're, you know, I don't want to get into the political thing, but it's so easy to go from there when you know what's actually going on. And the fact is that it's all a lot of BS happening around us while we're talking about the real issues at hand, and no politician is doing it. It's just us crazy guys in a field in New Hampshire that had a couple beers and are labeled as drunks. So I don't know where to go from there, but yeah, it's so hard right now, and very real, very real.
Yeah, well, exactly, and I think that's part of why we do this in the format we do. Get good takes from smart people like you, because you just can't trust anything the media does anymore. And clearly, they do it to fool us and all the rest of this stuff. And again, right? So you caught my reference. I was kind of making a joke about the task force, right? Where they sent you're like, oh, they sent Kamala Harris to Guatemala or whatever. Like nobody really cares, but we're supposed to believe that this task force is supposed to do something, right? The quote task force for the political stuff. But my point was, well, how come there's no task force to really police the situation going on in the Siberian permafrost? Like, I mean, that's what I'm saying here.
Well, that's because, Mike, that's because it doesn't change anything. It's all just for votes. It has nothing to do with the good or better of the human race. It has nothing good to do with whatever's happening right now. They know what's happening, and this is the problem. Everybody knows what's happening. There are people here on your show. We have talked about this. Millions of people that are following you and I, and then we get shut down, censored, removed from the real rhetoric of this, and dare we say the truth. Next thing you know, you're getting dragged through the rocks. You're going to lose your job, whatever. Bring it. Because it doesn't work, by the way. They can, say whatever they want about me or you, and you got plenty of people backing you up to say the opposite. And I think that's just the rhetoric now. It's so really, really weird what's going on right now. Just again, stars are aligning. I don't know. I'm not. What do you want to call it? When they're the signs, the stars aligning. You're a Pisces. I'm that. Whatever.
Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde, bro.
Yeah, right. Okay. right. And so, and I've seen and I've seen people talk about this, and there are some truths. There's a lot of myths. So I think the key is to maybe lay off the dope in the pot once in a while and think about it straight, and maintain, people. Maintain.
Hey, are you trying to say?
Liquor stores were open. Yeah. I'm sorry, I mean, yeah, but liquor stores were open during the whole COVID. Remember, the only thing that was open during COVID shutdowns were the liquor stores. Keep the liquor stores open except for one state and what happened there.
Yeah, and not only that, that wasn't just in the United States. There were some countries that shut down liquor stores entirely, which makes no sense to me. But
yeah,
whatever. Anyway,
and what happened there, Mike? Again, proof in the pudding, Mike. What happened there? Then you have a black market. You have the war on drugs, and people are like selling tobacco and liquor out of the backs of their cars because some countries actually did. You're so right about that, and it became more of a problem than health. And then you have a civil war. Excuse me. And then next thing you know, everybody's freaking out going, what the hell is going on here? Why are we going through this? I know one thing. I'm still seeing people driving around in their cars that have been vaccinated wearing masks. And, you know, there's frogs out there that can change their sex to reproduce. So if you got the COVID while you were wearing your mask in your car, you were not meant to reproduce.
I actually wear my mask in my car when I'm in there by myself, just because I know it pisses people off. Because I'll put it on and I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. Right? You get people staring at you like they're like forehead smacking, like, look at this idiot, right? And I'm like, joke's on you. Like I'm not afraid of anything. You're just just like I always say, why do people do anything? To get a reaction, and that's what I do.
Typical reaction. Yes.
Yeah.
And
so,
you know what? I guess that's the way you could, Mike. It's the way you got to look at it. I was there earlier. I'm freaked out because my bass player is calling me saying he can't play with me Saturday, and it's Laconia Bike Week, and I got all kinds of gigs going on. And he's like, I'm busy. I have to work, and I'm like, you're fired. And then all of a sudden he's like, okay, I'm not going to work. Yeah. Okay, so I'm paying you. Let's do this. We worked our lives for this. And, I think my point there is that the stars align for you once in a while when you start to see this stuff and you start to feel it and you start to realize maybe you're not as stupid or crazy as the media is telling you are, or the people are, on your Facebook page trolling you and tagging you for being, overbounds. And then these main media sources are jumping in on that chance to make you look bad. There's a reason. It's because we're talking the truth, and there's a reason that animals survive and life goes on, and dinosaurs are not walking the earth right now. I can't think of his name. I would just want to say his name right now. He said it. This was not a good idea. Let's not recreate dinosaurs and watch T-Rex walk out of the fence, eat a lamb, and eat the two kids in the bottom of the car.
Exactly. Hey, Paul, so you're going to be on the show this week, right? We're still doing Thursday?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think that sounds like, I was busy today, Mike. So, hit me up tomorrow or the next day on the other place. You know what I'm talking about.
Discord.
I'll hit you up.
Let's plan.
Definitely.
Let's plan on Thursday, bro. Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific.
Thursday sounds good. Yeah, looking forward to it. And again, great conversation, guys. And, listen to what Mike has to say. And wake up, everybody. Wake up. It's getting interesting, guys. It's getting interesting.
Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. That's everybody follow Paul. This is the New Hampshire UFO hunter. Appreciate the phone call. We'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Likewise, Mike. See you later.
Thanks, bro. Have a good night. All right, guys, we're taking your phone calls. Again, this is kind of the part where we get to let our hair down a little bit and drop some F-bombs if we want to do that, talk about kind of whatever we want to talk about. The topic tonight has been this in particular, this actual revival of this little critter from the Siberian permafrost, right? And so we've talked about this sort of thing before, but more in the context of an alien pathogen maybe coming back to Earth from Mars, right? But in this case, we don't have to bring anything back to Earth because these things are actually still there. Like these things are actually still in up there in the, like we were saying and Kelly mentioned earlier, this is Siberia, right? This is the North Pole. What about the South Pole? What about what's going on in the Antarctic, and what's happening with that? Lots and lots of problems, lots and lots of possible terrible stuff. And then, like Matt said when he called in, this could be like the X-Files. There's a particular episode where there's like a little worm like this that kind of got in. And actually, as I'm thinking about what Matt said about that X-Files episode, I think I remember that. I think I vaguely remember that episode now, but I'll have to go back and double check. But yeah, so that's what's on deck tonight. That's the conversation. But as you know, this is not just my show. This is your show, and we are talking about whatever it is you want to talk about. This has been the topic so far. Again, if you're not interested in this, well, we can talk UFOs and all the rest of that stuff. So as I was saying, just a couple things here. Here's a pretty sweet article. This is the science behind Jurassic Park, and this is from academic.dpow.edu. So more of these academic websites, pretty good stuff. Going to link this as we talk to this. What's up? Penny says, I don't own a mask. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I bet you that probably gets you some problems in the UK there. What's up? Robert says, who was that masked stranger? Exactly right. Exactly. Let's see. That's really funny. That's really funny. Okay. And let's see. Other good stuff. You guys have a comment or a question, or we want to talk about whatever. Whatever. You guys know. This is your show too. 702-957-1037. Let's put the phone number up and let's read some chat here. Let's go to the chat and say hello to the nice folks who are staying up late with us tonight. So Chris with a fantastic comment there with the hidden truth in the science fiction. Appreciate that. Appreciate the comment. And what else do we got? Penny says, I don't own a mask. Right. And then NS says, none of us do. The mask owns us. And there it is. And there it is. There's the actual, the new comment of the night. I think we have to roll with that one because that's too good. That's too good to pass up. Let's put that one up on the stream here because double hell yes. Let's see. There it is. There it is. There you go. NS says none of us own a mask. Penny, the mask owns us. And there it is. Okay, so in any case, that's what we're talking about tonight. Not the masks, but the science of Jurassic Park. This whole again the Siberian permafrost, and again back to this, right? The 6 surprising animals that can change sex, right? Which of course this actual pathogen or whatever this was, it was actually called. What is this called? A rotifer, a tiny animal called the rotifer that actually, when they woke it up, it actually didn't just come back to life after 24,000 years. It started eating, and then it started immediately reproducing, which means asexual reproduction, which means it was cloning itself. And so this is the type of stuff that when it happens, well, there's problems, right? There's problems. All right. So what else is up here that we haven't hit yet? How about this one? This is from the BBC, and this is actually, so this is not a new idea. And the more I looked into this, the more I kept finding older and older articles that were talking about these things. And I was like, come on now, like, is this really like one of those things where it's like, the gain of function type exercise with the tabletop thing with Bill Gates and that whole exercise where they kind of did the quote pandemic or whatever that thing is. But this has been kind of out there. It's been in the air, right? And they're talking about this on this is the BBC.com, and that's for all you folks in the UK because I know you all love the BBC. Here we go. There are diseases hidden in ice, and they are waking up. Large dormant bacteria and viruses trapped in ice and permafrost for centuries are reviving as Earth's climate warms. Now, I think the thing, too, to note about this type of stuff is the climate alarmism, right? So notice how everything regarding this is not framed like I say it, which is, as far as I'm aware, true, that we're coming out of an ice age and the world is warming no matter what we do, right? I'm not saying that. Right, you get one point, but nobody ever brings that up or it accounts for that. It's like they have to blame it so they can politicize it. That's my point. But anyway, so throughout history, humans have existed side by side with bacteria and viruses. Straight from the article here, when the bubonic plague to smallpox, or from the bubonic plague to smallpox, we have evolved to resist them. And in response, they have developed new ways of infecting us, right? That's the game. We evolve, it adapts and changes with the variants and then comes to get us again, right? That's the whole game we play. Now, we have had antibiotics for almost a century, ever since Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin. In response, bacteria have responded by evolving antibiotic resistance. The battle is endless because we spend so much time with pathogens, we sometimes develop a kind of natural stalemate. However, what would happen if we were suddenly exposed to deadly bacteria and viruses that have been absent for thousands of years or that we have never met before? And that's the question here. This continues. We may be about to find out. Climate change is melting permafrost soils that have been frozen for thousands of years. And as the soils melt, they are releasing ancient viruses and bacteria that, having lain dormant, are springing back to life. In August 2016, a remote corner of Siberian tundra called the Yamal Peninsula in the Arctic Circle, a 12-year-old boy died, and at least 20 people were hospitalized after being infected by anthrax. Anthrax. The theory is that over 75 years ago, a reindeer infected with anthrax died, and its frozen carcass became trapped under a layer of frozen soil, known as permafrost. There it stayed until a heat wave in the summer of 2016, when the permafrost thawed. This exposed the reindeer corpse and released infectious anthrax into nearby water and soil, and then into the food supply. More than 2,000 reindeer grazing nearby became infected, which then led to the small number of human cases. The fear is that this will not be an isolated case. And this is what we're talking about. This is the thing, right? So this is already happening. I didn't realize a boy had actually died. I read the top part of this, but not the where did my thing go? There we go. That's probably better. All right, but anyway, so this is happening, right? This is a real thing. So a little boy died, anthrax, the reindeer, the permafrost. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Still taking your phone calls? You want to call and tell me a scary story? I'm down for that. Whatever's good at this point. It's kind of late in the night. You know how we do things, and we're taking all comers. We don't screen calls. Pick up the phone and dial 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And or you can join the Discord, get your ass in here, and let's talk about whatever you want to talk about. Let's see. NS says, Jesus, that title is going to get Greta in a tailspin. Yeah, exactly, right? That's exactly what I'm saying here. Is that a lot of this stuff is kind of, propaganda laced. Yeah, it's well, if you don't vote this way, the zombie permafrost is going to kill us. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. All right, let's see. All right, so this one too. This is one from NPR, and talking about these zombie viruses that are actually in the thawing permafrost. So here we go. I'm going to link this and actually play a little bit of this. So if I don't have any phone calls, what I'll do is just so I can drink some beer and hang out with you guys for a sec. What's up, Dwayne? I see you there. Thanks for showing up tonight. I'll play a little bit of the article, audio style, so I can drink some beer and catch up. Unless you guys want to call, I'd rather talk to you, 702-957-1037. But here is this article right here. So let's play just a little bit of this, and we'll keep on moving and talking about how this stuff is actually real. And like I said, there's no task force for this. Well, like everything, right? I mean, you can't watch all the things, but eventually it's going to come back and get you, right? Like the things you're not watching. So here we go. Let's do this, and as I drink a little bit of beer.
Now we take you to the top of the world, to the northern coast of Alaska, where a cliff is crumbling and exposing an ancient hunting site.
Oh, there's another head back there.
Yeah, we got a head right here, head right there, main body right here.
Across the Arctic, these prehistoric settlements are being unearthed. And the reason why is climate change. As NPR's Michaeline Duclef reports, scientists are worried about something that could be lurking inside these settlements: zombie pathogens.
Up on top of an ocean bluff, a team of archaeologists is trying to pull off an emergency excavation.
Coming out of here, we have ribs and vertebrae and other long bones.
That's Dominique Toulo, a student helping to dig out a hunting cabin. He's found a stash of animal bones. At the other end of the house, Glynis Ong shows me where someone was storing fresh kills.
So this seems like skin right here?
Right at my feet. are 2 mummified seals, and these seals are incredibly well preserved. You can see their skin, their whiskers.
And this, oh, it's a little paw. Oh, it's a little paw.
Everywhere they dig, there's another surprise.
Holy Moses! This is ridiculous.
That's Ann Jensen, the archaeologist leading the team. They're at a coastal site near Utqiagvik, the town once known as Barrow. They're rushing to save a piece of history before it falls into the ocean. The cliff where the cabin is buried is thawing and breaking apart because of climate change.
Is that a bird? It's just bird after bird after bird stacked up in there. Look in there. Oh, yikes. Oh, yeah. There is. Oh, my goodness.
It's the whole leg.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
This sounds like a badly scripted audio drama. But anyway, this is from npr.org, and it's Goats and Soda, Stories of Life in a Changing World. And so, of course, what they're talking about is this expedition up there, where they're talking, they're up there in the permafrost, and they're really talking about the same thing we've been talking about, which is archaeologists up there excavating things and maybe uncovering maybe dangerous pathogens. So the headline here is, are there zombie viruses in the thawing permafrost? And this actually goes back to 2018. So like I said, this is not a brand new idea, obviously, but as these articles keep coming out with discussing all kinds of new things, like these critters that have been alive for 24,000 years in this stasis, in this frozen state, and then they come back and then start multiplying, start reproducing asexually. I think it's like I said, where's the task force? Where's the task force for this? Somebody should be up there watching, but I don't know. You tell me. So here we go. Let's listen to a little bit more of this. I'll drink some beer and hang out. Still taking your phone calls if you want to be a part of the show. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we'll put you on the show. You can talk to me or whoever else might be listening. But let's go back to this article. Let's go back to NPR, Goats and Soda, and action.
Getting super stinky. The birds are thawing and rotting.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
One student's hands are covered in black, decaying bird flesh.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Their hands. Oh, my gosh. Oh.
Now Jensen starts worrying about something we can't see.
Avian flu?
The norovirus.
Oh, norovirus, yes.
The team realizes there could be bird flu hidden in these carcasses. You see, all across the Arctic, climate change is causing the ground to warm, soften like butter. And there are a lot of things buried in this ground, not just animals, but also their diseases.
Take a break, Colleen. You're going to drive yourself nuts. Seriously, you need a break.
Colleen Lemaitre is a student. She puts on gloves.
Yeah, you should probably do that rather than go barehanded, because, there's a lot of gunk in here.
At this point in the excavation, something even creepier happens. A human molar appears.
Wait, it's really a human tooth?
Now, the site we're at isn't a burial ground. There shouldn't be bodies right here. But the tooth does make them pause, because it reminds them that there aren't just animal diseases buried in the Arctic, but also possibly human diseases.
Okay, I'll stop it there. But you see, right? So they're up there actually doing an excavation, digging some stuff up and figuring out what the heck is going on. And not only are they finding these animals, right, where they could have these pathogens that are whatever it is they may be, right? They're actually finding a human molar. And so, of course, right, once you start finding remains of expired humans that are put in the permafrost, what can you do? That's the type of stuff that you're like, oh, by the way, look, here's a molar, and everybody's like, anthrax, right? Of course, not that quite dramatic, but yeah. So that's the idea here, and that's what's going on, right? We have scientists up there doing their thing, and as you're digging, you never know what you're going to find, right? Never know what you're going to find. What's up, Large Marge? I see you there. Thanks for showing up. And let's play a little bit more of this.
Tens of thousands of bodies hidden in the Arctic permafrost. Jensen knows this better than anyone.
I've done a lot of burials. Yeah, I've probably dug as many burials as anybody.
Some of the people buried up here, they died of smallpox. Others from the 1918 flu.
Have you ever seen human remains as well preserved as this seal?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, the little frozen girl from Utqiagvik, our Nyack, yeah, she was actually much better preserved than the seal.
The little girl was just 6 years old. She was carefully wrapped in a duckskin parka with a fur-trimmed hood. She had this little sled with her. She died about 800 years ago.
Water had seeped in around her burial, I think, and she was basically encased in ice. So we were able to take her out in a block of ice.
Her body was so well preserved that Jensen shipped her to Anchorage so doctors could do a full autopsy. One of those doctors was Michael Zimmerman, a paleobiologist at the University of Pennsylvania.
I've done a number of studies on frozen bodies in Alaska, and when you open them up, the organs are all there and they're easily identified. It's not at all like Egyptian mummies where everything is shrunken and dried up.
So it's easy to see what a person died of. For the little frozen girl, it was starvation. But Zimmerman has seen infections in bodies excavated from permafrost. In one case, a mummy from the Aleutian Islands looked like it had died of pneumonia. And when he looked for the bacteria inside the body, there they were, frozen in time.
And there we go. So that's exactly what we're talking about, right? So it was not only is it dead animals, we got burial sites, we've got people, that had died of human diseases. And so as the permafrost thing happens, they're up there doing the excavations. And this is pneumonia, right? It's one thing, but then imagine when you actually uncover that corpse that has the black oil, right? Like the X-Files black oil and the rest of that. I mean, it's like, what in the world? Like, what is going on with this? NS says that those people need a 2-week quarantine before they come back to civilization. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, who knows what the hell they're going to bring back here? And that's what we're talking about. It's once it gets into humans, that's easy to pass on, as we've seen, right? Anybody ever figure out that asymptomatic thing, by the way? I'm just curious, or asking for a friend. All right, so let's last bit of this. This is again from KNPR, NPR, and are there zombie viruses in the thawing permafrost?
Microscopically in the lungs.
There's this fear out there that once human bodies are exposed by melting permafrost, the pathogens in them could come back to life, like zombie pathogens. It's not unheard of. Anthrax can do it. It happened just a few years ago in Russia. A massive reindeer burial ground thawed, and the anthrax that killed the reindeer woke up and started an outbreak. Were these pneumonia bacteria still alive? Zimmerman tested it. He took a smidge of tissue from the lungs, warmed it up, fed it, and tried to revive it.
Nothing grew.
Not one single cell?
No. I was happy because I didn't have to worry about catching anything.
Zimmerman says he wasn't surprised the bacteria were dead. Anthrax is a special case. In general, bacteria that make people sick can't survive a deep freeze.
We're dealing with organisms that are hundreds of years old, at least in the stuff I've worked on. They're frozen for hundreds of years, and I really don't think they're ready to come back to life.
I asked him if the same is true for viruses.
I think it's extremely unlikely. We've never been able to culture any living organisms out of these bodies.
In 1951, a pathologist from San Francisco, Johann Holton, decided to test this out. He went up to a tiny town near Nome, Alaska, and dug up the bodies of 5 people who had died of the 1918 flu, a virus that killed at least 50 million people. Holton told NPR in 2004 that he cut out tiny pieces of the people's lungs and tried to grow the virus in the lab.
I hoped that I would be able to isolate a living virus,
Holy shit.
I couldn't. The virus was dead. And in retrospect, of course, maybe that was a good thing.
A good thing. But here's the crazy part. Holton tried to capture the virus twice. He went back to Alaska when he was 72. And Russian scientists like Holton have intentionally tried to revive smallpox from bodies in their permafrost. They recovered pieces of the virus, but couldn't get that to grow either. So maybe when it comes to zombie diseases, it's not melting permafrost we need to worry about, but what scientists are doing in the lab. Michaeline Ducloff, NPR News.
There you go, right? So we don't have to worry about what's... Notice what just happened there. This was in January of 2018, right? 2018. And she's saying that we don't really have to worry about what's buried in the permafrost. We have to worry about what happens when the scientists get it back to the labs, right? And this type of stuff. Yeah, exactly. Matt's like, yeah, let's try to grow it. Exactly, right? Yeah, that makes sense. Let's try and resurrect this stuff that killed lots of people back in the day. That sounds like a great idea. Yeah, no, I mean, this is the problem, right? Like back to that whole Jurassic Park thing. Again, back to the chaos guy, Ian Malcolm, and which is of course is Jeff Goldblum in the first Jurassic Park movie. It becomes we didn't think about whether we could do it, we just did it, or whether we should do it, right? That's the question: is should we be doing these things and trying to resurrect these ancient pathogens? And they're trying to. I mean, like, think about that. Like, that's absurd. And who knows, right? Like, you can try and find one thing, but what if there's another thing entirely that's there that you don't realize is there? Crazy, crazy stuff. What's up, GameVet02? I see there. Thanks for showing up. Let's check the other spot here. Facebook, which is dwindling. What's up, Robert? What's up, Tam Bam? Thanks for showing up. Robert says, keep in mind our immune system has had at least 100,000 years to evolve, so those primitive pathogens may likely be no match against our biological defenses. Which may be true, but then also what happens if it's older than, let's say, 100,000 years of that evolution? So it's something completely alien to us. I think that's part of the problem, right? Let's go to Jay in New York. Let's finish this conversation up. What's up, Jay? Welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing well. Kicking it, talking about weird stuff like we always do, my man. What is on your mind tonight?
Well, the one thing that I wanted to mention is that when you were playing that audio clip of when they were digging there in northern Alaska, climate change. It's like they took every opportunity to get that out there, every little chance,
Exactly.
That it was climate change. So, and then, we're worried about the climate change, but hey, you guys are down there, you're digging up stuff that obviously killed all these people a long time ago, and now you're poking around with it.
And
is it
right? Right, and they're trying to revive these things. Like, what the hell's going on?
Well, I mean, I think I've got a pretty scientific mind, and curiosity level is high. If I was out there riding around or backpacking or whatever I was doing, and I saw a cabin there, I'd probably go around, start poking around, just because, But I don't think I'd get to a point as like, hey, we found out that, smallpox or the Spanish flu from 1918 killed all these people that were up here hiding from it. Let's see if we can recreate it. That sounds like a brilliant plan. It really does. I think we should spend millions and millions of dollars to try to see if we can get this stuff back alive,
Yeah, and that's what they're doing. And so notice at the end of that article, and remember, that was in 2018. She said we shouldn't be too concerned about what comes out of the permafrost because most of it can't survive that freezing process. However, right, what we should be concerned about is the scientists that get it into the lab and start doing things with it, right? And that was before
gain of function.
Exactly. Like that was before this whole, pandemic, quote, pandemic. So I don't know, like I think that once again, right? Like we're our own worst enemy when it comes to things like this, because it's not like there are things we shouldn't be tampering with, right? And sure, fine, you can make the argument and say, well, you have to do this stuff for science because you have to be able to find a way to maybe defeat it eventually, right? So yeah, fine, but like, don't we have enough like current diseases you could probably tackle, without trying to resurrect something from 1910.
Cancer, maybe.
Yeah, well,
diabetes.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like literally, you can just pick a ton of them and just guess and decide from there. Give me a go ahead and do your best Ronald Reagan. I'm gonna step away for a second, trap my dog because she keeps running outside and barking, and it's late, and I don't want her to get shot by the neighbors. Give me 30 seconds, man. I'll be right back.
All right.
Thank you.
One of the things that I was thinking about with Ronald Reagan is he always used to say, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. And I just think that's kind of where we are with what's going on with everything from the emails to the masks and everything else like that. Let's just make something up and keep ourselves going and wanting to fear everything and, let the government come and protect us. And I really don't know if they're going to do that great of a job at it because, well, we're finding out that they're not making all the right decisions all the time, especially when they're funding, hey, there's the dog, Luna.
That's
but
the dog.
I really, but I mean, I see what they're doing. It's like, how many millions and millions of dollars do you think we spend on this stuff? That's I always go back to look at the money. It's one of the things that I think about when you look at what all these people are doing. Where's all this money come from? Who's getting all this money?
Yeah.
Who got all the? I don't want to walk down the wrong road. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about those things yet.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I mean, there's only so much you can say, but I think that's like the that's the devil. You follow the money down all those paths and all the different roads, and it's not good. It's not a good place where maybe some of this funding comes from. And we talk about it all the time. We talk about Oprah or some of these billionaires, George Soros or Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or whoever, right? And we end up kind of finding that they seem to be a bunch of scumbags. Is that they're not. It's not well enough for them to have billions of dollars. They have to be trying to control the world. And I just at some point, can't you just like enjoy your fortune and leave well enough alone? I don't know.
I'm going to build a rocket and go to Mars.
Yeah, right. And that's what these guys are doing. I mean, you saw the news show. Like Jeff Bezos is going into space with his brother now. It's like, okay, yeah, that's super cool, right?
After he got the government to fund them.
Yeah, exactly. After they get bailed out by the government, I'm like, hey, me and my brother are going to jump in the car. We're going to go down and get some tacos. Jeff Bezos is like, hey, me and my brother are going to jump in the rocket and we're going to go to space. It's like, okay, got it, bro, got it. Yeah, crazy stuff, man. I don't know. So with this the other stuff, I don't know, with like the X-Files and the black oil and whatever's buried in the permafrost. I don't know. Like, I'm not exactly sure the risk level, but if things are coming back to life, I think it's worth thinking about. And like I said, where's the task force for that? I want to know. I pay my taxes in full, by the way, and it hurts. And so I want to say, I already got skin in the game. At least listen to me when I bitch and moan. Jeez, right? Come on.
Let me look at the files.
Yeah, something. Exactly. Yeah.
Without a black magic marker over half of it.
Exactly. Exactly right. Yeah.
I don't know what that stuff with what's going on with the the black goo from the X-Files and stuff like that. One of the things that kind of freaks me out a little bit about stuff is that you see the X-Files. There was I don't know what it was. It was Danish or something like that. It was a subtitled movie on Netflix or Amazon about people living way up north, Greenland or wherever they were. And somebody ran across something in the permafrost, that was out there thawing. And it was driving them crazy, making them nuts, murderers and stuff like that. And then come to find out they had this highly infectious disease. We're getting warmed up to it, The poles are shifting enough that the stuff that used to be frozen all the time isn't going to be frozen anymore. And then, new stuff is going to be frozen. They're just warming us up. The big pieces are breaking off of Antarctica and floating out into the ocean. What went on down there, what's under the ice. And then there's all that too. What are they doing down there? We've got all these teams of scientists, people that I know from the military and stuff like that, come down here and cook for 6 months and stuff like that. You'll make $78,000 a year being a cook. What are they doing? They're digging in the ice. What do they do? They got that much money and that many people that they fly down there every year in the summertime, and they're paying cooks $78,000 a year.
Well, exactly.
What are they looking for?
Yeah, well, clearly something that's going to pay for itself eventually, right? So, what would that be? That would probably be a gain of function type of thing that could do some damage because like Daryl, when she called tonight in the first call tonight, she said we're going to weaponize it. That's what we're going to do. America. Yeah, I mean, that's what we do, isn't it? Unfortunately,
we weaponized everything. Money.
Yeah.
Well, everybody who's ever shot a nail gun pulls that foot back at least one time and sees if you can shoot a nail out of it. Just
Can you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Far. Yes, nice.
Oh yes, yeah. Far. Yes, they go very far.
So you could hurt somebody.
I would recommend a finish nailer if you were really trying to do damage.
Whoa! I'm not asking you that. We're not trying to do damage. We're not trying to do damage.
Well, if it ever came to it. But
okay, right. Zombie apocalypse.
Sticks and stone. Yeah, sticks and stone sewing kind of thing.
Gotcha.
But really, I mean, there's just, voodoo, Did they find something, up there? That's why they're digging in the ice and stuff like that. And maybe they're the ones sending the samples to Wuhan. Hey, look what we found up here. We've had it under ice for, 3 or 4 years in our lab and it looks like it's not going to do anything bad. Let's ship you a sample and see what you guys can do with it.
Right, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Tam Bam, what's up? Wants to know, why are the viewers so few on Facebook? That's a hell of a question. Speaking of the Facebook and the viewers, notice that page has 44,000 likes and follows. And yet, very few people get actually notified. And so, it's games that Facebook is playing. And I'm saying it right there on Facebook because guess what? If it continues, we won't be on Facebook. So if they're going to play games with us like that, then yes, we will just move to other platforms. So sorry, Facebook. If you want to be assholes, I can be an asshole back. Simple as that. But thanks for noticing and thanks for pointing it out because it's happening. Go back into the archives of the shows on Facebook. You'll see we used to get thousands of views. Now, no, not even 1,000 views. So it's definitely, we've got into somebody's algorithm somewhere and they're dwindling us down to what it is. But okay. So any what else is on your mind, my man? So anything you want to talk about?
Well, what you were just saying there.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
On the next, the censorship of you on Facebook. Yeah, I've seriously noticed that. One of the things that I have noticed, though, is that when the YouTube channel goes a little bit funky, you still, even though the Facebook page is behind a good another 8 seconds than the YouTube channel, the Facebook page will be up.
Yeah, the delay is a little bit weird depending on what you're doing because it all goes to the same server, and then it's technical, but whatever. I mean, what's up, Elizabeth? Welcome back to the show. Thanks for coming back. So and that's not just us, right? I mean, we're getting censored clearly. It's not just us though. So there are ways around.
Well, I mean, I noticed lots of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of people.
Exactly. So let me ask you while we got you on here, Jay. What do you want to hear about in the next couple days? Any ideas for shows this week? Because I can whip something together if you got some good ideas. Always looking for good ideas.
Oh, well, I mean, the good ideas that are coming out right now, I think might be a little. You got to let the mainstream media touch it before, let us know what's censored and not. Censorship. I like that when you're talking about the censorship. It really gets me because it bugs me. So there's some of the stuff that was going around on the Discord today. The little pop-ups and things like that, and I was like, wow, really? Is that That's nuts. And then if you talk about those things, I went to a customer's house today to bid a job, and we started talking about politics, and we're definitely on two opposite sides of the fence when it comes to just about all of it, from the virus to the political side. And we can have an intelligent conversation together. And I was like telling her, I started saying some of the things that I've seen on the Discord and from the BBC and Bunny Show and stuff like that. And she goes, that's not real. And I says, how do you know that's not real? And she goes, I haven't seen it on the news. And then I start throwing out the stuff about what we've seen about going on with the satellites and the launches. And what about the Ring of Fire in the morning? All of those things and stuff like that. And she goes, well, I don't hear about that anyway. And I says, well, what do you see on the news? Well, the president is doing all this great stuff, and vice president's down there in South America, and everything's doing great, and they get a warm reception, and everything was cool. And then I was like, wow, some of the stuff that I saw about that is the exact opposite. You're getting force fed, lady, and you're buying every bit of it.
Which is not good. Which is not good. And that's unfortunately where people get their news, from propaganda sources. And again, that's why we do this. That's why we do it in the format we do, because smart people get together and you start to notice it. Like if you pay attention, you notice propaganda. But if you don't make a concerted effort to actually pick it out and get to actually recognize it, you're screwed, because it's going to just come and go. And you're like, now here's the thing, right? So for example, I'm concerned that all the Wuhan stuff about the lab leaks is propaganda at this point. So they, maybe they turned and, maybe it's not. But basically what I'm saying is, because the entire mainstream media is now running with it when they ran against it for so long, it makes me wonder, suspicious about what their motives might be. And so I'm not saying it didn't happen, but what I am saying is once they start reporting it, that's when I get suspicious. So, and like you said, we kind of have to really follow them based on what they're saying to even know what we can talk about. But, we do it anyway. We say fuck it. We do it anyway most times.
Well, I mean that's good. That's good. I mean that's what got me hook, line, and sinker in the beginning when I started listening to your show. Is that wait a minute. I haven't heard anybody talk about this kind of stuff this way before. This is odd. And
there's some weirdos out there. I'll tell you what.
But what you were saying about what was censorship a year ago with talking bad about the leaks and the emails and stuff like that. Really, what are they hiding? What are they trying to keep? Get your mind off of. And that's one of the things that back in the day where you'd watch the news, 5:36, and then again at 11, and that's basically all you got. So they could tell you whatever you want, and you wouldn't even know. Unless you were reading an article a month later in Scientific American or Popular Mechanics or something like that. Like today, we know now. Something happens now and you get firsthand account of it. Look at how Black Lives Matter took off with their 15 minutes later.
Yeah.
Things with what was going on with them. Because of the internet.
Yeah, that whole
faster.
Thing was nuts. Well, and they were backed by, they keep saying they're like a grassroots movement, and it's not. It's backed by
billions,
massive funders. Exactly, it's backed by people with a lot of money, and that's why these things go viral, because they can pay for them to go viral, right? And so again, like don't get me wrong, because you disagree with the movement doesn't mean you think that racism is good. It's the dumbest thing ever that. If you're like, well, if you don't burn down buildings in Portland, Oregon, you're a racist. It's like, what? Wait, what? What? No, come on.
Well, you're smashing your own stuff. Go ahead.
Exactly. Exactly. And so,
are you going to get a coffee tomorrow morning?
Exactly. And we have these folks that have been on this show, even on the show or Twitter, everywhere else. You guys have seen them, and they're like, oh, those places have insurance. It's like, wait, so like. You're okay breaking and burning things, stores, houses, places people live, or whatever. Like it's so obtuse to me that people are like, oh, well, it's for a good cause, so go ahead and burn it all down. Okay, let's start with your house. Let's start with all the things, and then we're going to burn it down for a good cause. And then after that, if you're still down with that, let's go burn more stuff. That's what it's about. So anyway, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. So we're about to end up here, finishing this. I appreciate you coming on, man. You good conversation as always. You're kind of making my mind go in different places here tonight, which is good. It's good to kind of snap out of the same stuff. So what else? While we got you on, my friend, as we wind this down, last couple minutes here.
Let's try to learn something that's going to be able to help you and other people. First aid, a little bit of farming, a little bit of basic skills and stuff like that. I think that, for yourself, you need to be independent in as many ways as possible. The last couple of 18 months, whatever it's been, has taught us that, they're saying there's going to be a big meat shortage now, be prepared, do what you can to be prepared, be nice to people, do your best to go out of your way, make somebody else's day. And then, a couple hours later, somebody else might come down the road and go out of the way to make your day a good day, or just keep a positive flow going. It's like with the people in the chat and everything else like that. Never really gets mean or nasty. The show's never mean or nasty. People agree, disagree. It's cool, keep it going, If you send it off one more way, that's just one more person that's going to be affected by it. I don't know. Keep up the great work, Mike.
Thank you.
Fantastic show after fantastic show.
Thank you. That's very nice. Yeah. Speaking of which, by the way, we had a couple of haters jump on the our the iTunes reviews, and I think I was on the UFO Joe show the other day, just for 5 minutes, less than that. Just popped on. He had like a call-in show. I just jumped on there to say hi. And immediately after that, we got 2 1-star reviews on iTunes. So if anybody out there hasn't left an iTunes review, I appreciate it. If you could go do that. I know many of you have in the chat. I've seen them. I know who you are, so I appreciate that. If you have not, we got 2 1-star reviews. Clearly, because haters gonna hate, but whatever. I don't really. In the end, I don't really give a shit. But if we have
it's still a view.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Whatever. All right. So this is the outro with Jay. I appreciate you hanging out with me tonight. Thanks for listening, my friend. I'm going to play some music, and you're going to do your best. You did Reagan already. Let's do Churchill. Let's try that. Here we go.
Oh my gosh, I don't know Churchill that well.
That's all right.
What is Churchill?
Make something up. You're good. Just make something up.
Oh my goodness, Churchill. He's British, isn't he?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I know who he is. I just can't think of anything he said. Oh my God, they were over there, killing themselves for the Nazis.
When you're going through hell, keep going.
Keep on going. Yeah.
Keep going.
Oh,
that's Churchill.
Don't let the devil know you were there. That country music song.
Exactly.
If you're going through hell, just keep on going. Don't let the devil know you're there.
Exactly right.
I always used to say, grab somebody on your way through and drag their ass out. Dust them off and send them on their way. If you're going through hell, try to pick somebody up on your way.
Exactly.
Get them out of there.
Exactly right. Pick people up. Stop putting people down. That's one of the themes of this show. Yeah, if you guys do have Apple accounts, iPads, whatever, just go to the troubledminds.org. On the right side, there's the iTunes link. Just click that, and you can leave us a review. I appreciate that a lot. It does help. It does help us combat the haters. We were at 4.7 out of 5, and then the 2 haters bumped us down to 4.5. Whatever. Whatevs.
I'll have the kids do a review for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks, Jay, for being here with us tonight. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. As you know, friend of the show, friend of mine, and I appreciate you very much. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks again. Everybody else, thanks for hanging out with us. I know it's a long show. Sometimes the subject matter is punch you in the face style. But hey, we're going to keep talking about it because some of these things need to be talked about. So as it goes, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. We'll be back tomorrow night. I've been informed there's a dust cloud on Mars that's probably going to be horrific for the next 36 hours. So I think no Ash tomorrow. But in any case, we'll still be here doing our thing, punching and thinking and talking and trying to make the world a better place. So thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks for being here. And you guys know the drill. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thanks again from our troubled minds to yours. Have a great night. Thanks, Jay. Thanks for hanging out with us, bro.
Thanks, Mike. God bless.
You too, man.